Hi everyone and good evening. My name is Peter Driver and we're here in Biscari Fly for our Christmas special. This is a live fly tying show that we do every week, normally on Saturday nights. And tonight we're on a Wednesday night, but it's our Christmas special, so we normally do something in between the Christmas and New Year's just to pass away the bit of boredom that might be setting in from watching all the same old movies and stuff on TV and stuff. So everyone's very welcome. I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas. How you doing, Peter Wadden? He did, Peter. Santa came all right. Brennan Spillane is on there. Happy New Year to you too, Brennan. Declan Noonan, Dennis Goulden is on with us there. Kieran Sherlock, Liam Long, Kevin Maher. Happy Christmas, Kevin. Happy New Year. Peter O'Connell, James Hope, Graham Lonigan, Dennis Goulden, Dave O'Donovan. Dave is going to be along with our trivia night tonight again, folks. So keep an eye out for that one. Kieran Flynn, Damien Willis, Brendan Spillane, Billy Boland, and hi to everybody. Hope everybody. Chris Oliver's on there, Ian McIntosh, Wayne Murphy, Mark Joyce. Great to have everybody back on with a load of people back on here with us for our Christmas special. We have an amazing show lined up for this night, folks. Okay, we got some cracking fly tying. We got some special guests. We got the one and only Mr. Tom Doc Sullivan coming on here for a lengthy conversation about early fishing on the Corrib and buzzer fishing. Really picked his brain. How you doing, Patrick Burke, Brian Canty, Mark Robson, Alan Kelly? I hope everybody's had a great Christmas and looking forward to the new year. I'm certainly looking forward to the new year. 2022 won't go down as one of my greatest years ever, and looking forward to a new year, new start, and hopefully things to improve. But so yes, we got a great show lined up for you tonight, folks. How you doing, Luca? Luca's on there as well, and Martin Kenny. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. Say Tom Sullivan's going to be on in a little while. There's going to be quite an interview on there in a little while, talking say about early fish season fishing on the Corrib and buzzer fishing. Don't want to miss that. Tom is an absolute gentleman and very kindly came on last year and done a dry fly episode with us, and it was fantastic. The feedback was amazing. So he came back on. Darren Duffy's on there. Darren loved the buzzers you done earlier on, Darren. Seen him online, they're fabulous. Ricky Croak is on there as well. Hope Ricky and Dick are keeping well and all the family. Also, we will be tying two early season dabblers. They'll be coming along first. Two early season dabblers. Robbie Phelan there. Happy New Year to yourself, Robbie. How you doing, Sebastian? Sebastian's on there from Ban Valley Flies. So we'll be doing two early season dabbler patterns, and Tom mentions them in these videos as well, but we kind of had a half planned anyway. But they're coming along very shortly. Mark Driver Roger Fowler and Josh Walker had an exceptional day on the Corrib last year, buzzer fishing, and I've got a lovely little video the boys made there. We're going to show that as well. And after much convincing, Mark decided to tie the buzzer for us. So Mark is actually going to come on in a little while, and he's going to tie that buzzer pattern that really worked a treat for them. Dylan Roberts is on there from Wales as well. How you doing, Dylan? Mark is going to come on and tie that buzzer for us in a little while as well, folks. So do stay tuned for that one. It's a cracking little buzzer, and you can see the proof is in the pudding when you see the clips that they had over in Corrib last April. It was an amazing day's fishing. They rang me afterwards, and I thought, well, fix sake. How you doing, David? David's on there as well. Andrew's on. So don't forget, folks, if you share the stream tonight, you're in to win all the flies tonight. Also, pre-Christmas, I was a little unwell. We just got a bit of a dose, myself and the family, and we're a little unwell, and we skipped the show, and we also actually skipped a giveaway of a lovely tub here of emergers. So that's actually going to go into the pot for tonight as well, those emergers. So if you share the stream, hit the share button on the stream there, or send in a comment throughout the stream. You're in the draw to win all tonight's buzzers, dabblers, and a selection of emergers from the last day. I say Dave is going to be on doing his trivia for a while, so you're in to win that as well. I got a couple of spot prizes here. Don't know how I'm going to give them out along the way, but I'll find a way to give them out to you. So how you doing, Neil? How you doing, Jason? I'm going to find to give them out away. And don't forget, tonight we're doing the draw for the free years fishing in Mount Juliet Estate here in Kilkenny, just down the road from me, valued around €350. We put it up there a few days ago, like and share competition. Deirdre will go on at 9 o'clock, my wife, and she will text me the winner. She'll do a comment picker, and she will text me the winner. So the best luck to everyone that has liked and shared the post and tag two buddies. If you haven't done it, switch across there quickly and like and share and tag two buddies. That draws up, and huge thanks to Dan O'Neill and Mount Juliet Estate for always being so kind to supporting us here in Pescari Fly and giving us a few free gifts to give away every year. Every year, I think for the last number of 3 or 4 years, we've had free membership to Mount Juliet Estate to be given away on the live show. Dennis, I don't know. As it's great to see what the experts' viewpoints are. Well, let's say you could teach us a thing or two now, Dennis Schooling, about buzzer fishing. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I'll pick up some little thing. It's always good, Dennis, if you can pick up one little gem out of a show or a trip or something like that. Same to yourself, Barry Enright. Happy New Year, and hope everybody's keeping well. So we're going to get started in straight away. I'm just looking through my notes here and made sure I've covered everything. So there's quite a bit to get through tonight, folks. I started a half an hour early because I got 4 patterns I want to tie for you. How you doing, Bernard Corcoran? Got 4 patterns I want to tie for you. We got a lengthy interview with Tom O'Sullivan coming up in a little while. We got Mark Driver tying a lovely buzzer pattern for us and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with probably one of the most important early season dabblers you need on your pattern. If you're going to go, say, tonight's kind of theme is all about the Corrib. Okay, early season fishing on the Corrib, locks over in the west and stuff like that. Early season lock style fishing. Tom Ankertel, Happy New Year to yourself, Tom, and all the family. I hope you had a good Christmas. But this is a fly that I've known for years that I would never go fishing early season without. And Tom even mentioned in his interview, and it's a fiery brown dabbler. Okay, a really good early season pattern. Good for the run. How you doing, Ken? Ken Tubby's on there. Don is on with us as well. Good to have you on, Ken. Fiery brown dabbler, an absolute must. I remember one of the best early season days on the Corrib on the 15th of February, going out with Joe Trill out of Ballindiff, and had a fiery brown dabbler on the top dropper, and had 5 flaming trout with it. And it's always been something that I'd continue to have with me at all times. So here I got a Kamazan B175 in the vise, and I'm putting on some brown UTC tying thread. Okay, now this particular pattern is actually Tom Dock's pattern. I asked Tom pre to our interview kind of a couple of early season flies, and he gave me 3. I'm not going to try the 3 of them, but I am going to try 2 of them. Okay, one was the fiery brown dabbler. Now I'm going to add in a little tag here, which is holographic copper. Okay, you have 2 options here, holographic copper, or you have Glow Bright number 5, I think it is. Pat Kennedy's on there, and Jason and Reardon's on as well. How you doing, Jason and Pat? Hope you are keeping well. Happy New Year. So I'm going to put in a little bit of holographic copper. Now I use the Hens holographic material. As you all know, you've all seen it before. It's a bit fine is the only disadvantage to it, okay? But when you stretch it, or if it gets any pressure at all, it doesn't go silver like most other holographic materials. Okay, so it's either on a spool or a hank, but I find the Hens holographic is always the best material. So it's a little bit fine for a size 10, but nonetheless, I'm going to persevere with it, and I'm going to have to go down. So just tie into the bend of the hook with the thread, and then I'll start winding the holographic copper as a tag down the hook. Be careful not to catch the point of the hook. So normally we stop the kind of the thread or the body around the barb, okay, and then wind it down, wind it back up. And come up, back up around the bend a bit, so when we start our body will start exactly from the holographic. But so I'm happy I've got that in there. No, Adrian, I never went after the Ferox on Corrib. I didn't. No. Tie off that bit of holographic there. Now, normally I'd put on a little bit of Zap-A-Gap there, or a little bit of glue or something there. It's not the strongest material in the world, and it could be one of the first things to go on your fly. But for the show, because I don't have drying time here, and we have quite a lot to get through tonight, folks, I'm not going to put on a bit of glue on that. But normally I'd put a little bit of glue underneath it, or a little bit of, not resin over the top, but maybe a bit of Zap-A-Gap or something, okay? So here I've got some natural cock pheasant tail feathers. 4 or 5 to be precise, and I'm going to tie those in out the back of the fly. This is a size 10 Kamazan B175, maybe I mentioned that already, and tie those out the back. For the ribbon material here, we are going to take some oval gold. I tend to use a small, unless I'm going up to size 8 maybe, or the actual oval needs to be really prominent. I would actually go to a medium, but mostly it's always small for me. And tie it back down there onto our Hugh Flavin's on there. How you, Hugh? Anthony Brady's on as well. Stuart McMicken. Same to yourself, Stuart. Great to see so many people on. Hope everyone's had a good Christmas, and hope everyone enjoys the show tonight. If you have any comments, or do shoot them across. Do shoot them across in the comment section there. I'll try to get to as many comments as I can. For the dubbing here, I'm using a bit of fiery brown dubbing. Now I mixed me fiery brown. It seals for excuse me. It seals for dubbing. going to put a little bit of wax on this thread first. Seals fur dubbing. I mix a bit of brown, red and yellow. Okay, so kind of not really, a little bit more brown and then kind of a third red and a third yellow. Okay, Jamie Conway's on there. How you doing, Jamie? So I just tease out my bit of seals fur, put it flat at the back and just wrap it around that thread. Slide it up into position and begin to make the body. Because the way of the lights set up for the camera and stuff like that, if anyone hasn't seen them shows, it's actually hi Scott Freeman. Good man, Scott's tying the Perdigons. Another little bit of seals fur. And don't go quite up to the head. I kind of just come back a little bit on myself. Leave a little bit of room. Now, for the body hackle for this one, I've got an orange cock saddle hackle here. Okay, it's kind of a darker orange. I'm sure you can mess around. Hi Bernard. I'm sure you can mess around with this and do a little bit lighter. But this is kind of a nice, kind of darker olive cock saddle hackle. And I'll just strip it back to where I want it to be. Because it's an early season fly, I'm going to make it quite leggy. Thanks, Richard. Richard Enda and Richard Highland on there. Happy Christmas and New Year to yourself, all up there in Trim and that Boy Fishing Club. And I'm going to wind that 2 good turns up at the head and just start winding it down the body. At Boy and Trim, I fished a few of the rivers up around there, especially when I was doing the 100 River Challenge that time with Dave O'Donovan. Fantastic rivers up around Trim and that Boy. So all I'm going to do now is take my ribbon material, securing that hackle all the way up the body. See, nice and leggy. Once that's tied in, take away my waste there. Take my waste from the end and just stroke all those fibres and feathers back. Out of the way. Thanks, Peter. Give it a little brush back with a dumb brush. Gets a lovely taper back on that fly. Gets it ready for mounting a really nice hackle. So we're going to mount bronze mallard dabbler hackle on this here. But I always like to get them all tapered back nicely. And allows me to do my hackle much easier and get a really nice shape to that fly. Okay, see, really leggy. Nice for the early season flies. Thanks, Donald. To get a really nice leggy, you know, it's an early season fly, so I want a bit of, you know, noise or movement on this fly. So here for bronze mallard wing, we're going to put on a bit of bronze mallard, as you can see out here. Now I've steamed these bronze mallards before I've got them ready for fly tying. Very important. It really does help with your, you know, winging of flies, especially like this one. You want to cloak. I always like to cloak my bronze mallard first, and then put a wing on top. So what I'll do is I'll put it over a kettle and steam them out till they're nice and just perfectly splayed out there and back to their original position. And I find it helps me greatly when I'm mounting the bronze mallard wing here on this. So what I'll do is I'll select a piece of bronze mallard just down a bit from the tips. Okay, as you can see, you just parted it there a little bit, and I'll hold that in my left hand between my finger and thumb, and I'll trim that away to stem. Now the original dabbler tying, I would have taken the stem and all there, and I would have used that. And it is kind of handy. How you doing, Glenn Campbell? It is kind of handy, you know, to take the stem, because if you tie it on and it doesn't go right for you, well then it's very easy just to untie it, straighten it between your finger and thumb, and put it back on and go again. But me personally, I always cut it away from the stem. Okay, so I got a piece there about 1.5 inches in depth. Okay, as you can see, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that along the side hackle, because I got it nicely tapered back. It makes things so much easier here for me. Okay, so I got 1/3 below the hook and 2/3 above the hook. This is the way I always do it. My hackle tips come back. My tips and my bronze mallard always come back to the longest part of the hackle. Okay, they're never to be shorter than the hackle, whatever body hackle I'm going to use. They're always going to be that little bit longer. Okay, so I mount them in onto the side. I catch them. They're now in my right hand, and once I put them in onto the hook and I'm happy with the right length, I will then move in with my left hand, slightly bend them around the hook, and with my trade, catch them. And as you can see, I spin them the whole way around the hook. Okay, tighten up. And once I start to just move them into position, I have a lovely cloaking on that fly. Not taking too much away from the body. You can still see your rib, but you have a lovely cloaking the entire part of the dabbler, the entire body of the dabbler, okay? A nice even cloaking. How you doing, Nigel? A nice even cloaking the entire circumference of the fly. I then get in, I trim away my waist. And I'll hold everything back and get a couple of turns of thread in there to really secure that in. And now you can see we have a lovely taper on that fly. We have a lovely bronze mallard cloak. A little bit much on the bottom there now, so I can just manipulate that just a little bit with your finger and thumb, just to get it exactly around. Love the lint. But you can see you have a lovely cloaking on it, on that fly. Okay. Before I finish it, I'll then take the remainder of my bronze mallard that I was trimming away earlier on, and just the butt end of it, strip it away. I'll take about 1/2 inch of bronze mallard, line up the tips a little bit, fold them, and I'll place them in on top a slight little bit longer than the actual cloaking. It's just the way I like the look of the fly. Everyone has their own way of tying in their bronze mallard and things like that. Graham Reynolds is on there with us from Sweden. How you doing, Graham? Everyone has their own way of tying in their bronze mallard for dabblers. That's the way I do it, and I love the look of it. Just tidy up that head with a brown thread. And that's a fiery brown dabbler right there. I'd have no problem giving that a pull through the wave on the Corrib on February 15th. We'll finish it off. You can put in jungle cock cheeks or sunburst cheeks there if you want. No harm to tie a little variant or two now and again, just for something else to pull. Once I got that done, I'll take a little bit of lacquer or a little bit. John Johnson's on there. Eugene Fagan's on as well. Good to have everyone on. Hope everyone's enjoying the Christmas. Night's a little bit of break from the. Thanks, Graham. Night's a little bit of absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Tim. Garrett Core. Do you know what, Garrett? I wouldn't be half afraid to give a fiery brown dabbler a pull on a still water. Thanks, Kevin. Really cracking fly. As Tom mentioned in his interview, you know, a fantastic early season fly. Definitely one of the best early season sessions I ever had on the 15th of February with Joe Truseo Ballindiff on the Corrib was with the fiery brown dabbler top dropper. I'm going to do the middle fly in a few moments for you folks. The middle dabbler pattern in a few moments. These are all pulling flies. And then we're going to switch over into buzzers. Tim Sullivan's on there. Thanks, Tim. Yeah. Definitely, hopefully 2023 is a bit better. Thanks, Kieran Flynn. Thanks, Andre. But definitely a lovely fly. Very fishy. You can see putting that bit of length into the hackle and the bit of cloak and then the flight and the hack and the wing on top definitely gives you a lovely shape to a really good pulling fly, early season pulling fly. That's going to be hey Robbie Berry's on with us there. Johnny Wilkinson on there from Canada, British Columbia, Canada. Congratulations, John. By the way, John Wilkinson there, folks, a friend of ours from British Columbia, is now the captain of the British Columbian, or the Canadian, sorry John, the Canadian Commonwealth fly fishing team, and he will be coming over here this summer. We're so looking forward to having John over here with us this summer for a bit of a spell. The Commonwealths will be on the Isle of Ely in Mullincontire in Scotland later on in the year, and John's going to pop in for a visit, so we're looking forward to have John over. But there we go, folks. That's the first flight tonight. We got another couple of patterns to come. We got lots of massive giveaways to come. Stay tuned. We're going to head over now. We're going to really tease this now. We're all sitting at home, winter, Christmas time, fed up of eating, drinking, and watching crap on the telly. And we're going to head Corrib fishing now for a few minutes. We're going to head over to the Corrib in April of last year, and we're going to watch Mark Driver, Roger Fowler, and Rick and Josh Walker catch a couple of fish. This is what happens when you strike it lucky on the Corrib, folks, and you get the buzzer fishing right. So stay tuned. Watch this one there now for a minute. And hey, Rob Redmond's on there as well from Wales. Good to have you on, Rob. But stay tuned. Have a look and see what the Corrib. This is what can happen if you hit the Corrib on the right days. So enjoy this, folks. I'll be back in a few moments with another great fly pattern. There we have it, folks. That's what a day on the Corrib looks like. Thanks, Philip. Philip is excellent. Do you always do a double turn at the start of the rib? Yeah, most times, Philip. But that's what that is what a day on the duck fly, or not the duck fly, the buzzer, should I say. I think they were a bit late for the duck fly. I think they were more on the Campto buzzer. But a day duck fly in the Corrib is when you hit it right. Now, plenty of blanks the same day, I'm sure. But definitely it can be an absolute phenomenal lake. And we got Tom Doc Sullivan, one of the top guides off the Corrib, coming on with us there in a little while to really talk in depth with us early season lock style fishing on the Corrib and buzzer fishing. But you can see when you hit it right. Peter Wadden, if I tell you one thing, if that doesn't make you want to go fishing, nothing will. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark is actually going to tie the top buzzer from that night. He's going to be tying it in a few moments. I look at my schedule here. I've stickets all over the place here at the moment to try and remind me of what's going on tonight. But yeah, Mark's going to be on here now in a moment. No, actually, he's going to be on after Tom's interview, tying the buzzer that they used that day that caught him all those fish. So stay tuned for that one. That's coming up in a little while. But next, we're going to tie another dabbler pattern here. Early season pulling flies. If you make it to the Corrib for the opening week of the season, or open 2 weeks of the season, before the buzzers come on, well then, absolutely, Chris. Then, these are the sort of flies you're going to be pulling along the shallows and along the shelves, the margins and things like that, looking to pick up early season trout. Fiery brown would be the first one. And absolutely, Kevin, the fiery brown being the first one. And in this one is a hare's ear dabbler. Okay, lovely fly pattern. And I've used the hare's ear dabbler not just at start of the season, but during sedge time, and it can work as well. Okay, so this time we're going to an olive tying thread, and I'm going to take some natural pheasant tail fibres here again. Nothing too flashy about this one. And I'm just going to tie in those pheasant tail fibres and make sure my length. I like the length of the tail roughly around the length of the shank of the hook, or a little bit longer. For a rib here, I'm going to tie in Let's see what time it is now. 8:30. Yep. Deirdre will be along now with the winner in half an hour of the membership, the year-long membership to Mount Juliet Estate here on the River Nore. And we got loads of other spot prizes to give away throughout the night. Dave will be along with his trivia in a little while. So I just put in a bit of my usual Gutterman, sulky, copper rib there. Copper is the kind of what I prefer for this one. You'll get away with gold as well, folks. Oval gold or copper. Don't use a wire because a wire sinks into the hair's ear dubbing too much and it's pretty invisible. So try stick to either a flat wire or absolutely Anthony Brady. And wait, I tell you, Anthony, the boys pulled into Annadown that day and they brought Josh Walker. Josh had been over for the Irish Spring Angling Fair from Fishcoin, and we said we'd take him to the Corrib for a day. So the boys took him off the Corrib for the day. I couldn't go because I was here minding the shop, minding the kids and the usual. And they pulled into Annadown, they drove the boat out the lake, and they stopped where they thought looked nice. Simple as that. They stopped where they thought looked nice, and they started fishing, and it was like someone had come in with a wheelbarrow and dumped a load of fish in front of them. They just got fish after fish after fish. So the right place at the right time is absolutely right, Anthony Brady. Yeah. The boys hit the nail on the head that day. So here I got a little bit of hare's ear dubbing mixed in with some squirrel. Okay, nice spiky squirrel dubbing. Stuff I just mixed myself. I like a bit of spikiness to this fly, and just sometimes you just don't get it fully with hare's ear on their own, and I have the tiniest little bit of pearl mixed in there as well. Okay, so I'm going to dub that on. I'm going to dub that on there. And take it up the body. And get a nice deep, healthy body on that one. Because I'm going to be brushing out afterwards. Excuse me. Great stuff, Graham. Glad you had a good time. Thanks, Gareth. Here I got a bit of furnace, cock saddle. Okay, a bit of red game either if you have it, it'll do fine. And I'm going to just add that in there. At the head, this is going to be our body hackle. Again, 2 to 3 turns at the head, and then start winding down the body. Take my rib. Start making my way up the body. And you see with that flat rib, you can really see it sticking out and being prevalent in that nice deep hare's ear body. A wire won't give you that. Dominic's on there as well. Donny Curtin, good to have you on, Donny. Take away my waist on both ends, and the same as last time, stroke it back with your finger and thumb. Make sure everything's well secured before you start giving that a little brush out. Last thing you want to do is start brushing that out, and next thing, that front hackle, the hackle where you secured it in tight, starts to move on you. Give it a brush out just to get some of that spikiness of the hare's ear up into the hackle and make a really nice body of that fly, as you can see. Could have been Martin Kenny, I'm not 100% sure. There was a question come in there and I missed it, but I'm going to go back because Tom Hipwell. Good question. Pheasant tail or bronze mallard? For me, it's always bronze mallard, Tom. Size 10. Unless it's, say, like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a fly pattern now. I always go with bronze mallard. Oh, what is the bloody hell? It'll come to me now in a second, Tom. But mostly for me, it's always pheasant tail. Oh, what's the name of that bloody fly? I always put bronze mallard in its tail instead of pheasant tail. Robbie, these are all on size 10s for these ones. How you doing, Paul? These are on size 10s, but I'll do them on size 12s as well, Robbie. Depends on time of season, time of year, the lake I'm fishing. For the Corrib, early season, I'm putting them on 10s. So we're going to be bronze mallard once again, folks. And I'm going to do exactly as I did last time. I'm going to come down on the feather a little bit, and I'm going to select, which is basically the bronzest material, the darkest material I can. And I'm going to place that. I'm just going to move a few tips there, make sure those tips are perfectly for me. A third below, 2/3 above, pinch in with the left hand, and just nice and easy stroke them around that fly. You see? Lovely cloaking, lovely even cloaking around that once I get brushing it out and moving it around. Nice even cloaking. Tom, I'll think of that fly now in a minute. Get in there and take him by my waist. Now say Tom Sullivan in his interview talks about 3 early season flies that he would have going out in the Corrib. One is the Fiery Brown. The second is the Hare's Ear Dabbler. First person to guess the third fly, what would you have on the point? And it's a point fly because this Hare's Ear is going to be on the dropper. The Fiery Brown is going to be on the top dropper. First person that I see here on the stream guesses what point fly would you be using? Dabbler, mind you. No other fly, only dabbler. What point fly is going to win a spot prize? A nice spot prize is that too. Okay, so first person that comes in there now and guesses to me, by the time I finish this fly, I'm watching the stream as best I can. No, not a cock robin, Robert. No, not a claret dabbler, Tom. Right, what's going to be on the point fly early season on the Corrib you're heading out? Silver dabbler, Dennis Goulin. Even though you got spelling wrong, Dennis. Dennis Goulin, congratulations. You have just won yourself a copy of Lou Boss Rose's new book. Okay, it's out about a year. I'm not sure you have a copy on it, but Silver Dabbler is what Tom Doc Sullivan says you have to have on the point fly when you go out in the Corrib early season. First correct answer in on my stream was Dennis Goulin. Dennis, congratulations. I will get that book off to you. Lovely book, lovely bit of reading now in the new year for you, Dennis. I'll get that book off to you once the postal services all get back to normal. So I'm going to finish off this fly. Don't worry, folks. There's lots of giveaways tonight. I think of lots of questions to give away tonight. This is our little night to say thanks to everybody for their support throughout the year. We really do appreciate it here. We try and do as best we can for everybody and give everybody their, a bit of time and give as much information as we can. And congratulations to the 2 winners of our hampers. Pre-Christmas, and tonight's the extra little bit where we've come on here live for a couple of extra minutes or an extra half an hour or so. I think tonight will probably be an extra hour over, and we'll give away a few spot prizes, ask a few questions, and all look forward together to the new year. 2023 is just around the corner. You're very welcome, Dennis. Thanks for all your support throughout the year. But 2023 is just around the corner, a whole new year and a whole new fishing season, a whole new load of memories to be made, and we want to just wish everybody a safe and happy 2023 season here from all of us from Scary Fly. So there we have our Hare's Ear Dabbler. Nice dark dabbler. You can see the way I've done the wing on top of that one again. Nice even cloak the whole way around. But you can still see that copper rib. Very important. If you're going to put in a component on a fly, very important not to lose it in the dubbing or the tackle. Stuff like that. Thanks, Garrett. Sure, look at, these things take a bit of time, but sure, I love sharing the bits of information I have and reaching out to the community and creating that kind of community where we all come on together here at Christmas time and share any time during the winter months and be able to share information and bring people along. And I learn a lot from these things too. A lot of people come on during the week and talk to me about different flies and stuff like that, and I do pick up a lot too. But it's a great forum we've created here, and we're going to keep it going for as long as we can. It might change a bit over the years, but for the moment we'll stick to what we have. But it is a bit of crack, and it's great to see so many people on here with us tonight now, middle of Christmas, and really looking forward to tonight's show. I've been looking forward to it for the last couple of days, a bit of crack and a bit of chat. But there we have our second dabbler. Okay, so that one's going to be on the middle. The Fiery Brown on the top dropper, and then as Dennis Goulin says, you're going to put that Silver Dabbler up on the point. I'm not going to tie the Silver Dabbler for you tonight, folks, because we haven't got enough time. Okay, we got a lot to still get through. There's a lot coming up still in the show. Going to look at me little bit of schedule here. We're going to head over now. We're going to talk to the one and only Mr. Tom Doc Sullivan, an absolute gentleman. I met Tom way back we did a bit of a show with him last year, but I met Tom back in 1999 when he qualified to fish for Sweden and Lapland, and we've been good friends ever since. An absolute avid fly tyer and fisherman over on the Corrib. If you're going to head to the Corrib, folks, any day this year, and you're looking for a really good day out, and definitely one of the top guides out there, you got to give Tom a shout. He's wealth of knowledge is phenomenal. His ability to put you over fish and really, make your day so enjoyable. I spent 3 days with Tom this year. I hadn't been on the Corrib for maybe 8-9 years, but after doing the show with Tom last year, he promised me I'd go over to the Corrib. He told me to come over, and I went over for duck fly. We didn't have the most successful day, but we had an amazing day. And then I went back for 2 days in the Mayfly with him, dry Mayfly, and they were cracking days. So if you're heading to the Corrib, give Tom a shout. Thanks, Brian. We keep going right into 2023. But Tom agreed to come back on again this year and talk about early season fishing on the Corrib. It's only a couple of weeks away. Corrib opens on the 15th of February. And you can hit some really good fishing that time. But it also leads into your buzzer fishing. And that's the way the conversation goes here with Tom. We started off talking about the Corrib, talking about early season fishing on the Corrib, and then we move into buzzer fishing. And when I come back, folks, we're going to be tying two cracking buzzer patterns. You don't want to be going over there to the Corrib without. Also, Mark is going to be tying the buzzer that caught them all the fish the day they went out. So those three flies are coming up after this. This interview is not a couple of minutes long, so I'd recommend you could press pause now or whatever, get yourselves a cup of tea, sit down and watch it. You don't want to miss any of it. There's a lot of information coming your way right now from Tom Sullivan. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll be back on in a few moments with another couple of patterns. And don't forget, at 9 o'clock, so when we come back from Tom, I will be announcing the winner. I will be announcing the winner of the Mount Juliet voucher for a year-long fishing in Mount Juliet, okay? So here is Tom Sullivan, and I will see you all in a few minutes, folks. Enjoy. How you doing, folks? And thanks for joining us here again on our Christmas special this year. So, as promised, the one and only Mr. Tom Doc Sullivan, he was on with us last year, and we got such a great feedback from last year's show when Tom was on talking dry flies, and I even got the pleasure to go over and put him through his paces there on the dry fly guide during the summer. We had a great 2 days, myself and Tom and Declan Doyle, and I met some cracking trout in very different conditions, mind you. But it was fantastic fishing. So, Tom, great to have you back on with us again here on the show, and a very happy Christmas. Hope you've had a good one.
Peter, really great to be back on again. Hope you're keeping well.
Not too bad, no.
Yeah, all good here. Yeah, no, delighted to be back on. And yeah, that was good. We had a couple of nice days there when you were up in May. That was nice. And
yeah, it was actually fantastic. Yeah.
And I've just been going through the diary, which is kind of pertinent to today. We had the tough day in March too.
We did. Yeah, we went up for a day in the buzzers. And it's not something I've spent a lot of time. I think we spoke about that in last year's show, but it wasn't something I had to spend an awful lot of time. So I was really, really keen to get up and spend a day in the buzzers. It was a difficult day with regards to us. What a day's we had at Lake Time. It was spectacular. Remember driving over the hill, coming down into your place, and I just caught that scene at the top of the lake, you know, and the sun was shining. It was a spring morning. Their lake was flat calm. I was there on my own, day off, heading over to Tom on the lake. I was already to get day. If I had turned the Jeep around, that would have been a fantastic day. That stage, let alone, you know, it was spectacular to be out on the lake that day.
It's lovely when you come around there and that spot. And a lot of the guys come fishing with me, or not to me, come fishing in Duras and Kernaman often say that. That place is called Ordon, and it's just as you turn around, because you cannot see the lake up into that, and then suddenly you just come around a corner, and there it is.
There it is, right in front of you. It's
right in front of you.
Magnificent. Like, I had to pull in the car and do the whole tour thing, took pictures and videos. And it was just magnificent. You know, there's an awful lot to fishing, Tom. A lot more to fishing than catch a fish. And I think the older I get, the more I'm realising that. And it's about scenery and about moments in time. And that was just, that was spring moment. Being a busy spring, got a day off to go over to Galway, drove over that morning, and to just turn that corner and see that, you know, that was spectacular. Like, but a tough day. But look at that's fishing, you know. That's fishing.
It was a tough day, and that was the story of a lot of the season we had. We were talking about it there just before it came on, but like, to be honest, it was a tough season. It really was, all in all. I mean, you saw it that day, you know. Yeah. Hard to put a finger on it. There was a lot of things that played in it. And like a lot of things, we've a lot of theories. There's always a load of theories floating around. The one thing I do think that played a lot with us in the fishing was we had a really mild winter.
Okay? We spoke about this. We spoke about this very same thing as I watched last year's interview with you just before I came on there about half an hour ago. So just run over that interview again to be able to pick up a little bit on some of the points we made 12 months ago. And this is exact point. And this has been, I'll let you finish what you're going to say in a second, but I've had this conversation with several people throughout the year as that common trend is growing. You were saying there.
Yeah, okay. So you look at it with a really mild winter. Like to be honest, yeah, I only had to clear the frost off the car here one morning last winter. Okay, and the level of the lake never got high. So basically, you probably had warm temperatures down reaching parts of the lake with sunlight getting down there. Basically, warmer temperatures throughout the winter.
Yeah.
What did that do? The only thing that I think I can, and this is all anecdotal, this is not scientific, but like a lot of us, we're all fishermen, we're out there and we see things. We had a huge amount of hog louse all
Right.
throughout the season, right? And what I do, the couple of fish that I would have kept during the season, particularly early season, whenever I keep a fish, I always check the stomach contents. I caught fish in the middle of olive hatches with olives all over the place with hog louse. I caught fish in the duck fly in the middle of thick Geronima duck fly hatches that had hog louse in them. And I talking to people from not just other parts of the Corrib, but other lakes. And there seemed to be an explosion of hog louse.
And you think that's because the cold weather's not killing them back? Or
yeah, just it was perfect for their numbers. Their numbers survived. And the only thing I know about hog louse, it's perfect food for fish. And if there's plentiful a supply of hog louse, then they don't, they can gorge themselves on it and they don't have to go chasing other things. Now, as I said, not really scientific, can't really back it up. But like a lot of things, it's anecdotal, we can only so much go on our own experiences from this. And that's one thing I did notice from last year. Huge amount of hog louse right through up till Mayfly time.
Right. Wow. And then, sure, again, of course, as what's backing over the interview from last year, we spoke last year about that cold northeasterly breeze, then that arrives in April, and just kills April, May, and June, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It happened again this year. Same thing on the rivers.
Yeah.
Very same thing happened again this year.
Because we were talking about that when we were fishing in May, we were saying the exact same thing. And it's never good for man or beast, but it's never good for any lake or river.
No, and then you go into that big drought. We get that big drought midsummer into early autumn and that heat and kind of stuff like that. So I suppose that we see it on the rivers as well. It does play it plays its part. And,
the joke about property, it's location. And I often say to people out fishing, it's conditions, right? And it is, but it really is. And you've got to remember, we had really bad conditions during the year. You know? So it's going to be tough. Now there are times when we got good conditions. But I think if the underlying theme is let's say during the summer, really warm temperatures, the water temperature is up in the lake, that's going to play against you. Even if you get a lovely southwesterly the following day and nice cloudy conditions, So there's a lot of things going on. Now, the only thing I'd say, let's say this year, we've already had a week and a half of really hard weather here.
Yeah. Is it enough though?
Well, more than last year.
Enough. More than last year, true. Yeah, we could get 2 months of that weather. Because I think everything, it just resets the life cycle for all animals and light and foliage and everything like that. Those hard winter days. If we got 2 good months of it, I think it'd be enough. I think we'd have better springs and more consistent in our seasons.
Yeah, I really think so. Look, fingers crossed. We're only halfway through it at the moment, so we'll see how the rest of it goes.
Yeah. So what's the downtime like for you, Tom? What's this time of the year, Tom Sullivan? You're guiding all the time on the lakes. When the season switches off, what's your downtime like?
So this right up to Christmas now, from the end of the season, is nearly always my quietest time. So which is good. It's nice to have a bit of downtime because I have to cram for my guiding. I have to cram as much as I can into 7 months of the year. Fit as much as I can in there. Yeah. So it's nice to get a bit there's no such thing as weekends for me during the open season. Weekends don't exist. If I get a booking on a Saturday or Sunday, I have to take it. I get a booking on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I take it. In the peak of the season, early on the season, I work constantly. I'll work 20, 30 days in the trot. So it's nice to have a bit of downtime too. So this is my downtime. So what am I at? I was doing a few things. I do a bit of farming. That keeps me on my toes. All the jobs I should have done during the year, get them done. Get the boat ready. Get the engines all done. I've only 2 boats now because I got out of the boat hire business. So get a couple of boats ready. A few things. Been writing a couple of things.
And of course, you have the podcast, Ireland on the
On the
Fly.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
and
it.
that's
Yeah,
gone
it's
great.
brilliant. Yeah, gone great. Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoying that. Loved having you on as well. It was great.
That was good crack.
Good
Yeah, it's
old
great
crack.
listening to someone back
Yeah,
from him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really, actually, because we just did we're doing a compilation of the most memorable fish. And I was listening to your one again. Yeah, it's fantastic. If you haven't heard it, it's out at the end of this. Yeah, that was class. So so that's it. But after Christmas now, because I do a bit with Fulling Mill all the time. So I have to go on the road with Fulling Mill, and my time on the road with Fulling Mill will be January, February, and March.
Right, that's calling around to all the dealers in Ireland, and
getting around to all the dealers. There's a few new things in the pipeline for Fulling Mill this year.
Okay.
So I'll be kept busy with that, which is great.
Brilliant.
And and then start guiding in March, really. And that's
right.
So the cycle goes on.
Just continues on. So the season opens in the Corrib on the 15th of February, isn't that right?
Yeah, we're one of the earliest lakes in the country. There's ourselves, Mask, I think, and Con. Con is the 15th. A lot of other lakes the 1st of March. So yeah, we get out 2 weeks before everybody else.
So you'll obviously be
always look forward to it.
Yeah, you'll be out on the 15th.
Oh yeah, I always go out to it. It can be hit and miss. I'll be honest with you. But if you get mild weather, you can have some cracking fishing.
Oh yeah, I've been over on the 15th a good few years. I haven't done it in the last,
haven't you? Yeah,
10 years, but pre that sort of time, I did, and I remember going out and spending 2 or 3 days over there and getting nothing. And then I remember going out with Joe Trill one time around Lime Island, and we'd 5 cracking trout in the one drift. You know, 5 flaming trout in the one drift. And you thought it was olive season or mayfly season. No, so it is. But it's lovely, you know, February, just after the winter, to blow off the cobwebs, get on the boat, head out across the lake. You know, for someone that's going over early season, Tom, you know, what sort of stuff, you know, what should we be expecting if they do manage to get conditions right? What sort of fishing would you be kind of saying, this is where I'd be targeting, this is what I would be doing? Or
right, if you're getting over, there's 2 things you'd be looking at. You can forget dries, and to a large extent, you can forget buzzers too. There's not a lot of fly hatching.
Right.
Okay. So primarily, there's couple of things that are going to be eaten. Right. The aforementioned hog louse.
Yeah.
That's good.
What are you using to imitate that, Tom?
What?
What are you using to imitate that?
Then what I use is fishing wets, and one of my favorite hog louse imitations is a hare's ear dabbler.
Hare's ear dabbler. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can do, and some guys are doing it with both shrimp and hog louse and tie them almost like very representative, not representative, imitative, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And fish them as almost buzzer or nymph style over the shallows or in around the reeds. Let's say on the shallows, you'd be, let's say, imitating the shrimp. So the hog louse and the shrimp, they're the 2 things that you're looking at there. So, and it can work, but to be honest, if you get wet fly conditions, in my own view, the dabblers are some fiery brown dabbler, hare's ear dabbler.
Fly, yeah.
I wouldn't have them. Have to have them, those 2 patterns on your cast early on in the season.
Right.
And for them, I'd be fishing. You're on the shrimp, in over the shallows, a couple of feet of depth of water, pulling intermediate line, fast intermediate slime line. With the hog louse are in slightly deeper water off the shallows, but they're not in that deep of water. You get them in another place where you'll often get them is in along reed beds. You know, so fringes of reeds is a good spot as well. So so for my wets, that's what I'd be looking at.
Okay.
The shallows or in on the shallows, shallow water, in beside reeds, fishing a team of dabblers. Say my classic wet fly casts at the start of the year will be fire brown dabbler. And so the few times I put a dabbler on the bob, and I put him on the bob. Hare's ear dabbler in the middle or on the point, would depend. If I go for a silver dabbler, I'll put the silver dabbler on the point, and a hare's ear dabbler in the middle. Now, silver dabbler is representing small fish, and what you have then at the moment is fry or stickleback. You have a lot of stickleback in the lakes, and the fish will hammer them. Now, that's kind of just covering it. You're hedging your bets with putting a silver dabbler on, or you can go the whole hog then. This is the other method that a lot of us are going on to now, and that's you're fishing your lures. And another raw,
that kind of stuff.
Minkies, humongous. Minkies, humongous. Don't find You can try snakes. I've never had that much luck with snakes, to be honest with you. Not on the brownies, but a lot of success on minkies and a lot of success on humongous.
Okay.
Now, are they humongi? I don't know.
Oh, good question. I'd say humongous. I'd say
humongous is. So now, interesting. When I fish them, now some guys like to fish 3 cast, and I do. But somehow when I set up, I like to fish 2, just 2, and you don't have. And this is a bit of a misconception about fishing the lures. Oh, you'll have to go on a DI5 at least or a DI7. Some of my best fishing on lures on minkies and the humongous has been on fast intermediate.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is, don't think you have to rip them.
Okay.
Nice slow retrieve.
Just pull them on. Yeah.
Just gentle. Yeah, seriously, gentle retrieve back. You know, much more success early on the season with the slow retrieve on the lures.
Right. Well, that's good.
With the wets, then you can vary the retrieves. But funny enough, don't like them too fast early in the season either.
Okay.
So that's but it is immense. Bit of lads think when they're going at the lures, oh God, I have to go on at least a DI5 and I have to strip like hell.
Yeah.
Try it. But to be honest, most of my success on lures has been nice, steady retrieve.
Slow and give them a chance to take it, maybe.
Yeah.
If coming out of a cold winter, they mightn't have that much energy to be chasing.
Quite often, some of the takes, Peter, they're like a soak. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You're sort of going, oh, gee, it is a fish,
Yeah.
Then you get the other classic whack. They're great as well, but so that's if you're coming down, early or end of February, early March, that's what you're looking at doing.
Okay.
You could be lucky, hit on a small buzzer hatch somewhere, and get a bit of buzzer fishing. It's generally the exception though, rather than the rule.
Right.
To be honest with you, those 2 methods that I just mentioned, they're the ones you're looking for. Like, to be honest with you, early in February or end of February and early March, and I've said this before, I don't like to take new clients out.
I heard you saying there you don't start guiding until March. So it's March when you're kind of starting to guide?
Yeah, well, March, once you have a bit of duck fly, you have a bit of action, you have a bit of movement. Like, I remember once, I led out in February and went flat cam. And we were stuck in the boat, and it was just fly fishing. I didn't want to troll or anything. So we were stuck in the boat with no fish moving anywhere and no action to nymphs. And it was a tough day. It really was. It was a tough day. So, at least later on, even come the middle of March, you get a flat cam day like that, there's a chance that a couple of fish move into emerging mayflies. And if there's duck flies.
Buzzers.
And if there's any duck fly around, there's going to be a little bit of nymph activity, so you can fish nymphs.
Yes.
So there's more options there. Whereas, like, end of February, and to be honest, you don't get too many flat cam days. Then if you get the opposite, because you can get some howlers in February.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's not nice then. But that said, I'd have a lot of regular lads that come the end of February, March, and lads that know the score. So that's not too bad.
And then moving on then from, again, once you get things going, and we're going to talk a bit about buzzers tonight. When do you first start saying, right, it's time to switch on? What time of the year are you thinking? Is it during the duck fly? You're kind of
the first bit of fly activity, and because we're going on about the buzzer, we'll be talking about it. It's actually the first bit of buzzer activity as well. Will be the duck fly.
Okay.
And for those who aren't 100% sure, still, the duck fly is a buzzer. Duck fly is just it's the Irish name for it. And I have actually on occasion seen ducks gorging themselves on it, which is one of the reasons they were called. Yeah, one of the reasons they were called.
That's where they get the name from.
Yeah. Ducks will come out and just start mopping them up, feeding around the place. Yeah. No, there you have it. But they're chironomid or chironomid.
Yes.
And so they're the first one to come. Now, when do they come? Yeah, look.
It's weather dependent.
Anytime. Yeah, it's weather dependent. And there's so many factors, like mayfly. There's so many factors. There's the long-term factor, like the mild winter that we talked about. Then there's a short-term factor. You suddenly get that spell of, let's say, that northeast wind. That'll suddenly delay a hatch as well. So there's so many other things. The height of the water during the winter, the height of the water in March. A lot of other, so there's a few factors that play into it. But I generally say expect it any time after Paddy's Day.
Okay.
But from my own diaries, my best ever day, and it's one of my best ever days in the lake, was on duck flight time. It was March the 15th. And I had the whole lake to myself there. And I didn't get a full day's fishing. Because I actually had to cycle as well. I didn't have a car that day.
Right.
I had to cycle to the village to meet somebody and cycle back in again. But I had 17 trout.
Wow.
To my own rod. And
Jesus.
it was just, and I had the whole lake to myself. As the duck fly just started hatching and the place just went alive.
Come on, I'm like.
Alive, yeah. Wow. And I went out with my dad then the following day and we had 9.
Right.
Yeah, fair play. My dad picked up 5. I picked up 4. And then we had a competition, a club competition the following day on Paddy's Day, and I blanked.
Always the way, yeah. You were a lawyer there, yeah. That's it. Hey, Sullivan had he was going around all week telling everyone he got loads through.
Yeah. He no more called 17 now. We have a great saying here. It was from one of the old boatmen, Paddy Somerville, years ago. Like when he'd hear of a bag of fish, he'd just go, "Did you see them?"
Yeah.
I actually know what happened there was I was catching on, to be honest with you, they were just hounding wets that time. That's all they wanted. Right. And I was looking back at my diary for Blaine Black, an orange Peter Ross, and I must check it. They were the 2 best. I caught on a third pattern as well. I was just fishing them on a floating line.
Right.
And the duck fly merger. The one with the little orange steels for thorax, partridge, game hackle at the front, brown partridge, and just black body ribbed with wire. And they hammered them. They didn't want to look at emergers because that's what they were on at the time. And I probably should have, I wasn't that handy at buzzers at that stage. This was 1999. And I'd say they'd moved back down the water table. And I persevered that comp all day, the same team of wet flies. They'll come on to them, they'll come on to them.
No. Bacon up here again. So once the duck fly come on, then Tom, what how long generally does the duck fly last for? Will a duck fly major hatch?
Probably looking, you'll get 2 weeks out of it, maybe more.
Okay? All right, okay.
Yeah, you should get 2 weeks out of it. There's certain areas, like even up here in Duras, where I am, is noted for its duck fly. There are certain parts of Duras that have earlier hatches of duck fly than other parts.
Right.
Like, there'd be areas that are slightly deeper. And it's the same all over the lake. Generally it tends to hatch in the shallower areas first. Okay. Not always, but you can take it as a rule. There's
and duck fly won't just hatch anywhere. Do they need certain environmental conditions?
That what basically they do. They will only hatch out of silty or muddy bottoms.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and generally what you'll find then, and if you look at, like, Duras is a great example of it. Any place where there's exposed rock or a rock bottom, they won't hatch off it.
Okay.
So if you look at the islands, of Duras, they have been, for thousands of years, they've been getting a southwest-west wind. So you're getting wave action on the west-facing points. Okay. So that wave action, silt won't settle. But what happens is the silt travels along the side of the island and gets deposited
settles in behind it.
It settles into the lee of opposite where the wind is coming from. Okay. Now this is really important as well, because we'll go back to the other thing. But so what you have on a lot of the areas that are east facing in Duras, or north facing or northeast facing, the silt is deposited, and that's a perfect spot for the duck flies to lay there. When the eggs are laid, the larvae bury into the silt, and like everything, they live in the silt until they want to hatch, and they hatch out of it. So all the areas that have silt generally tend to be sheltered from a southwest wind. But what does that mean when the wind goes to northeast? It means it's blowing into, and it's blowing into these places. So it's exposed.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons another reason why we don't like the northeast wind, aside with being cold and harsh generally, particularly here in Duras and in a lot of places on other parts of the lake as well. Because the wave action has been the same. Now that said, not every place in Duras, like, and I'm just taking Duras as an area, but like any part of the lake or any parts of a lake where there's duck fly. Like, for example, I know where there are duck fly holes that do work on a northeast.
Right. Okay.
But there aren't as many as there would be in the prevailing wind.
Right.
You have much more choice if you have a nice westerly blowing down, you know.
And so you're going in around Carg and the backs of those islands then, and
yeah.
That's where you're expecting the duck fly to hatch.
Yeah, and what we're saying there now, and this is kind of crucial as well, because what we're looking for is more settled conditions. Because when we're fishing buzzers as well, we don't like windy, wavy weather, right?
Okay. Yeah, you're looking for a nice
little harder ripple to fish them. Yeah.
Right.
What you want is calmer, more settled conditions.
So you're looking to keep those. Ideally, you want your buzzers to be fishing stagnant.
Yeah. We were talking about this beforehand. Always, I'm a firm believer in stagnant. Now, and this is the beauty of fishing. There's always an exception to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes try it. Like I was in a competition one day with the lad, and he wasn't fishing them stagnant, and bang, bang, bang.
Right.
Was hitting them. And I then started to have to speed up my retrieve, but that stage was what they'd finished, but he was getting them. But generally, you want them stagnant or still, because the natural is not swimming fast.
Okay.
The natural is just basically floating up, right? Yeah. They're not swimming. They're not like olive nymphs, or well, olive nymphs do a bit of floating as well, but let's say mayfly nymphs who dart around the place. Yeah. The whole idea with the buzzer nymph is it's if you look into a buzzer nymph, if you ever see it, it actually pumps oxygen into its body so it can float up, right? Okay. So if it's using air to float up, it's not going to be quick.
No.
So like you're trying to imitate it, don't be quick. So generally, how is it easier to fish a still fly? It's a lot easier in calmer conditions.
Absolutely. Because if you're out moving faster, you got wind or crosswind or anything at all, the fly lines start dragging flies up faster through the surface or through the layers and stuff. It can be very difficult to get that stagnant. All right, yeah. Would you ever bung, Tom? Really you ever use a bung or something?
Oh yeah. And I have no problem with using a bung at all.
Right.
I don't use it, but with clients, a lot of people I put people new to it, try a bung. It really can help you. Really can help.
Well,
it's all right. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
No, it's not. No, and there'll be a few that'll be commenting there now. What's it?
Oh, they will. Yeah,
about bungs. We used them. Yeah.
Yeah, we use them. I mean, like, you could actually say, well, I won't use a bung. I'll use a floating dry fly on the top drop or whatever. But at the end of the day, I use it a lot when I'm guiding clients.
Right.
I don't use it much because I don't know about a lot of the stuff there, like, because we're discussing weighted flies as well. Like weighted flies, we can't use in competitions here.
Okay.
Right. And
so weighted flies you can't use. So and no underlaid in the underbody or anything like that. No.
Yeah, and no beads.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, no beads. Yeah, on international rules, on the home international rules, there's no artificial beads allowed.
Okay.
Now that said, and I do know that there are with the one.
Can you put a bit of lead into an underbody of a little bit of lead in? No,
you're not meant to. And you see, for that reason, I don't experiment with them that much. And
of course, absolutely. And there's no point.
It's one of the things as well that I should probably a lot of the time be thinking outside the box, because not everything revolves around the competition. But I'm just so used to it, I kind of stick within those parameters.
I'd be the same with the rivers. Whatever rules go, we tend to stick to the same. There's no point.
Yeah.
And
actually, bungs actually are legal in competitions, but I've never bothered them. I don't fish them that much. To be honest, I don't fish. I haven't fished bung on the car myself for a long time.
Right.
But I would put clients in the boat that have never buzzer fished before.
Well, see, you've got experience buzzer fishing. You know how to feel the feel of it. You know the pace of the boat. You know exactly what you need to keep in touch. Where if you're taking someone out and they are going into a whole new world of fly fishing, learning how to fish a stagnant buzzer off the drifting boat. When the fish want to stagnant, well, then that could be a problem.
At the end of the day, people just want to catch a couple of fish.
Yeah.
Do you know? And that's what it's about. And before people, and I know people will be commenting on Noddy's day out with the bungs and things like that. But look, at the end of the day, We want to catch fish.
That's it, yeah. So when you're out in the
That's it.
lake, then you're kind of mooching around, Tom. You're moving around. Would you keep moving a good bit till you find a really good duck hole
Yeah,
where it's moving, or do you try and stick it out sometimes? Or what's the
okay.
best way?
And you can get caught there. Now, duck fly is kind of different because duck fly generally tends to be a little more localized. So
Okay.
duck fly is a lot of drive-bys in there, out there, over to the next spot.
Looking for
there,
duck fly.
looking for duck fly, and it can be really localized. I mean, the size of this room. You'll often hear, if ever you hear a lad saying it's a duck fly hole, basically it's just one little spot where the duck fly are hatching.
That's it.
So that now, when you're down, I will touch on the Campto buzzer, which is the one we're talking April and May, completely different. And there's a lot more longer drifting in that on those areas. And that's not why the tactics you will be using are the same, or the straight lining buzzer is the same for both of them. With duck fly, it tends to be more shorter, sharper drifts in there. Sometimes just pulling in and not fishing and waiting. The next thing, suddenly seeing what I always call them, they're like soldiers popping up, the duck fly.
Right.
Ping, ping. You start popping up. When that happens, just do your drift, chuck your buzzers out through them, just fish them through it. Then there are certain drifts here that are longer drifts if the wind goes right, and you will be hitting duck fly holes as you go along.
Okay, you're lining them up, kind of a thing.
And that's when you get the ideal condition, like here for doors. I think down at other parts of the lake as well. You know, what's coming to my mind there is a nice west wind here. If you get a nice west light wind, I have a drift that I could do from outside my place here that I could probably drift for, I'd say, nearly a kilometer. Wow. And I would be going over about 8 or 9 duck holes. But that's when you get the wind direction right. That's lovely.
Yeah. Again,
and what we would have been doing years ago before the buzzers is we'd have been fishing wets through them. You see, we'd have been fishing wets through that.
But so you still can pull. You can still pull wets through a duck hole and pick up trout.
I grew up here with the lad Chris Dixon. Chris was my best buddy growing up here. He was my next door neighbour, and Chris and I started going out in the boat together on our own when we were 13 years of age, and with great crack, brilliant. Chris anyway moved along. Chris moved back now, and he's back up in Kildare now, and came back there a couple of years ago. But about 10 years ago, he came down for days and evenings fishing with me, and I was on the buzzers. And Chris had never fished buzzers. You got to remember, Chris moved to London the end of the 80s, early 90s. So Chris just put up a team of wet flies, and I'll never forget. He wiped my. Not a big wiping. We went out for about an hour and a half. Chris had 2 fish, one the black pennel, I think one on the Peter Ross.
Right.
And I got skunked on the buzzers.
There you go. So buzzers is becoming, like, I know for a lot of lake guys, buzzers has been there for quite a long time and it's developing. But I think in the last sort of, let's say even 10 years, last decade, it's really come on. Like, it's, buzzer fishing is a big thing now. And a lot of guys are specifically traveling to big venues like the Corrib, Mass, these big Western lakes, and just spending a week or even more on just solely buzzer fishing and really honing in on that whole.
It's become, I mean, there was, I won't say an air of mystique about it, but there was a bit of mystery about it initially when it came out first. But it's not like that now. I mean, most lads listening in tonight now would have had a good stab at it now at this stage.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a lot more widespread now. But here's the thing, it's almost gone full swing. Like, I've seen guys fish through, fish buzzers through olive hatches when fish are taking wets on the top. To the detriment of their own fishing, where they're persevering with the buzzers. But that said, that's what they're coming down for.
Yeah,
I can kind of get with it. I mean, to me, one of my favorite takes in the world is the take on the buzzer.
Yeah.
And what I'd often say, it's when you're just retrieving like that, and as I say, you can count their teeth.
Yeah, right.
You just feel everything. Dick, right. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. So, I can understand that.
That's a very important thing you're saying there. You can feel everything. So for us, when we're river fishing, feeling everything is crucial to get that take or to say locking up the fish. So contact is obviously the big thing for you there with the buzzer, is it?
Contact is huge. And here's the thing, and here's where it comes in. it's getting that correct contact, because
Yeah,
if we're talking about, you were talking about speed there, stagnant or not. If you're getting
we're talking
speed
about,
wrong,
say, the novice client coming out with you that doesn't have 20, 30 years of buzzer fishing and experience of getting that contact. And same with me nymphing. When I'm nymphing on the river, getting that contact, trying to get that whole feel and into.
But here's the thing, and here's the thing I want to say now is, there sometimes you catch fish by feel, but a lot of other times when you're nymphing in the river, you're looking, aren't you? You see the take before you feel it. You see your line.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just good instinct. You just know when you're just they're on it, like, yeah.
Well, I fish a lot with, because Mike was on the team with us out in God.
Yeah, Mike Keady, yeah.
I do a lot of fishing with Mike, and Mike's top class buzzer angler. Mike's, and here's it often happens when I'm in the boat with him. Mike doesn't go on the field. Mike goes on the little loop from the top of the rod.
Oh, yes.
And what does that do? All right, so if you can imagine, top of the rod is 8 or 9 inches. I'll keep metric. 25 centimeters off
above the water,
off the water. Okay, and it's a slow retrieve, a stagnant retrieve. So basically, you have your loop just coming down off it. Okay. What Mike does, and what really you should do, is watch that loop, because if a fish takes, that loop will lift.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to say, but you're going to feel it anyway. But here's the difference. That split second.
Yeah.
That split second gives you time. How many times have we been fishing, both wets, buzzers, or anything, where the line pops out of your hand?
Yeah.
And it goes, right? And you go, oh, I should have got him. God, it just at the time it went out of my hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. If you're looking at that, you'll see it gives you that split second, so you know
you're ready.
So you can have the line trapped, ready there, and that's it. And then you feel it, and it's like the difference is it's marginal.
Wow.
It's just enough to get you ready. And I've seen that with Mike, and Mike's a great believer in that, and it shows when he's buzzer fishing.
Yeah, but you've got to get that contact. You have that contact with your with your fly line and your leader and your.
And here's another thing. Then when you do feel, and this is probably the same for nymph in the river too, do not strike. All right, do strike, but here's how you strike. Strike with your left hand.
Okay, strip strike.
Right, strip strike, but not much. Just like that. All right. So if you can see there, if you go like that.
Yeah.
And we keep it centimeters again, 15 to 20 centimeters.
Just to
if you feel no resistance. Yeah. If you feel no resistance, if it clicks off, just stop.
Yes.
At most, the fly has gone that much away from the fish slowly. So chances are he could take it again. Whereas if you strike.
Lift it up. Yeah.
If you think of the arc of the rod,
Yeah.
You're moving the fish a couple of meters, you're moving the fly a couple of meters away from him. That's crucial. So that's just like that. And then what happens is, it sounds very mechanical when I'm doing it like this, but basically the movement blends into one another. Do you know what I mean? So as you're pulling like this, if you can see there, as you're pulling like that, as you feel resistance, then you can lift. Okay. But if you're pulling like this and you feel no resistance, don't lift your rod. So and that's the only tricky bit about buzzer fishing. The rest of it is really simple. I think it's keeping your retrieve proper, keeping your retrieve just right, where you're not pulling them, but you're retrieving it enough that you're still in contact. You mentioned it there, contact.
Yeah, contact.
Contact's crucial. And then not to strike. Your rod tip low, as I said. Try and keep your rod tip about 15 to 25 centimeters from the surface of the water.
Okay.
Some guys like to put the rod tip in the water. I don't like that because you can't use the loop.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And then anything above that, and I do when I'm doing presentations and show people the difference. Basically what I do, I tie a stick against the wall, right? And I keep the rod, I keep the rod high, and I have the line up like that. And I think it's something like 8 figure of 8 retrieves before the stick knocks.
Okay.
Whereas if you rod tip straight, it's 3 retrieves.
Right.
So basically, when you have it up high, you have a huge amount of slack before you feel the fish. Yeah. Now, it's in it, but you've I do think there are a lot of comparisons with your nymph fishing in the river as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But there is one where you do have the slack. But when you're doing that, you're really keeping an eye on whatever you're using as an indicator, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and just that belly of line that's maybe coming. Like if I haven't achieved full contact in a drift and I'm waiting for penetration, say, to my nymph to get down to a particular level before I want to maybe tighten up and start to drag that nymph a bit to get that ultimate contact. I'm watching that belly of line in that moment.
Yeah.
And if that thing just lifts or tightens, I've got a great, I remember as a young lad, and I started worm fishing when I was a young lad. I was on the rivers, we no fly rods, or I was worm fishing. I was only a kid, and I'd get out and I'd set my rod on the bank of the river, and I'd leave a belly of line going out. I would never set it dead tight or try to achieve any contact, because I'd watch that belly line, and you'd be watching the tip of the rod wouldn't be moving, but I'd be seeing that belly of line go up. Gone rod tip. So I'd have the rod in my hand long before the rod tip ever moved when I was bait fishing an out pool down in the Avonmore somewhere. And you might be sitting there all day, and only going to happen once. You're only going to get one fish on their worm. Like, sure, we were just throwing bits of lead and stuff. But like, was again that belly and watching that belly of line, and it just start to move, twitch. And same with nymph, when I make that initial impact with the water, and I'm waiting for that nymph to penetrate. It's only it's only a moment, but in that moment, you can still get contact. I call them impact takes, and I'm watching that belly of line. If that twitches at all, tightens up long before it's got to the bottom where I need it to be, well then it's a fish, and you're not going to feel that. You're not going to see it as such. It's just that tightening of the line and that's the same principle what you guys are talking about. Yeah,
the same thing. It's just the only thing is that while it may work for you with a high rod nymphing,
I never nymph high. My rod never goes off. When I'm nymphing, my rod is never any more than 18 inches off the surface of the river.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, exactly. Well, then that's exactly what I'm saying. The same with the nymphing on the from the boat. Gotta keep it though, and keep it turned. Now sometimes you won't see it. Sometimes it'll be on feel. I still catch a lot of fish on feel, but you will the odd time. The whole line pops out of your hand, and
that's magic moments. Yeah,
you generally shout out something like, "That was rather unfortunate."
Damn it! Yeah. Yeah. So setting up, Tom, if you're going out, if someone was heading out for the buzzers, what's the kind of I've noticed a trend over the last number of years, guys going lighter and lighter rod wise for the buzzers, because it allows them to use lighter tippets and thinner diameter tippets, and the tippet protection in the lighter rods, 3 weights, 4 weights, 5 weights. Is that the trend you're on? Is that a common? Is that, or is just something like spot? What's your ideal setup for buzzers?
Well, funny enough, I have a lot. I do go to a 5 weight, and it does on times when I want to go very light on the tip of a tier. But funny enough, I'm quite comfortable with the 6 weight rod that I have.
Okay.
And I kind of like it. I use a 10-foot for 6. What's the tip of to use them strength? Are you like another thing? It's nearly always it's got to be fluorocarbon.
Right.
Okay. You really want fluorocarbon for your buzzers. I think a lot of people are aware of this now. Get a brand you like. Get a brand you trust. You like.
All right.
Yeah. But with the 6X, I still go down to 4X, the 6 weight rod.
What sort of diameter are you talking when you're talking 6X?
Diameter of 4X is 0.18. Okay. If I find that I'm getting pernickety, I'll go to the 5 weight, and I can go down to 5X. Right.
Which would be 0.16, would it?
I don't know. What? That's 0.16. Yeah. I think once you have a team of flies on, it's kind of really hard to go below 5X. I generally fish. So my setup for my standard buzzer fishing is I like to fish a team of 4 flies. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Right. 4 flies, and I go 4, 12 feet, and then 6 feet. So it's 18 foot. It's my standard one that I make up. Okay. If you're not comfortable with that, you're just starting off.
You're saying you're putting 4 foot between each fly?
Yeah. So basically, if you see there, stretched out like that to my shoulder, 4 foot. Next one. Okay. And then I go a full span in a bit, and that's 6 foot. We'll stick on feet for the cast because it's a lot easier to do on that.
Right.
So I like 4 flies for my standard buzzer fishing. Okay. Let's say if 18 foot, and let's say they're going down from the end of my floating line at a 45 degree angle. Okay. this is roughly, you can get to about 8 or 9 feet with your point fly. Okay.
Okay. And that's the max depth you're going to achieve with that,
Yeah,
realistically.
generally it's kind of hard unless it's very calm.
Mm.
You won't get too much beyond that. So then you're 8 foot, let's say, and they're up in 2 foot sections up to maybe your top fly, which should be about 3 foot, 3 foot and under. So you're covering different depths.
I get you.
With your whole,
yes.
And with 4 flies, you're covering more depths than you would be with 3. Okay. I've generally seen when I've been boating that 4 fish generally outfishes 3. Generally, another rule, but not so much to say that I'd be dogmatic to say, oh, you have to fish 4.
Mm.
You know,
but you're giving yourself more options. Yeah, that's
If you're more now, here's the thing: quite often, and you do wonder about the depth. It's still the point fly that'll catch most of them, even on between a 4 fish and a 3 fish. Right. So sometimes you do wonder about weight, and it's a thing, as I said, that I have to look into more, and take off the shackles of the old thinking of competitions maybe too much. I have some nice wee patterns that are weighted with them little beads on them.
Yeah.
And they're incorporated, and it's like the thorax of the buzzer. I intend to try them a bit more now and see. But that said, I'm not dogmatic. If I've lads out and they're not comfortable with 4, go with 3. And if they're not comfortable with a really long cast, just go 5, 5, and 5 foot. It's a 15-foot cast.
At the end of the day, it's the same in any kind of fishing, and you touched on it there as well with your leader, tip of material choice. Use what you have confidence in, use what you have ability in, because you're going to have more chance of catching fish. If you're not confident in using 4 flies, well then, you're going to spend your whole day probably in an awful lot of trouble rather than actually trying to catch a couple of fish that you might catch with
and that's crucial. You want to enjoy your bit of fishing.
Yeah.
You want to enjoy your bit of fishing. You don't want to be stuck, knitting, purling, and pulling things out, because there's nothing worse than a tangle on limp fluorocarbon and buzzers going around. Like I'm telling you, seriously, because they can be nasty. So if you're more comfortable with 3, use the tip of material you use. Do try and go to a fine diameter, but don't go crazy. I don't like going crazy. I hate leaving flies and fish.
Yes, of course.
Pet hate of mine. I really do. But what brands you use? All right, there's a mix. Everybody, out there, I said the Fulling Mill fluorocarbon, but as well the Masterclass. You have the Frog Hair's really been a good one as well.
That's
You've
popular.
Reverge. Reverge, Grand Max and Soft Plus, and the Airflow G3 and the Fluoroflex. Generally, all of those ones that I'm mentioning, they're all the deer types that have a finer diameter to strength ratio. So, and basically, that's where they're scoring. So you look at all of them, that's the common denominator. All those I've made 5 brands there, and all of them. Whereas a lot of them, and don't get me wrong, the cheaper ones will work as well. But the cheaper fluorocarbons generally have a slightly thicker diameter.
Further,
So I think it's worth it is worth it for getting your buzzer fishing to, if you're going down to 0.18, that it's going to be have strength. Because here's another thing, and you know it as well. You can get some lumps on the buzzer.
Oh yeah, that's I think it's why so many guys are gone so fanatic on buzzers, is that it is a way of catching big fish, like it is. You can get some really fantastic if you get it right. Like Jesus, it's just
I've got some amazing days. I seen the video of Mark from this year. They did fantastic.
I actually got to. If I haven't put it up already, it's going to be up.
Yeah, put it up.
That little video of Mark and the boys fishing the buzzers. That was just ridiculous.
And that was this year, which was generally a tough, as we were saying, a tough year, but just goes. And that's the beauty of this place. That is the beauty of this place.
You just never know. And just They'd have been over there.
But you see with the quality of you see with that what I'm saying there, the quality, you need that. And also as well, sometimes that's why like a 6-weight, no 5-weight I can bully fish with as well. But sometimes you're in areas where there's around reeds, not reeds, weeds and things. So like I have no problem with 5. Some like I always think the quicker you can bully a fish and get them in, the better.
Of course.
It's better for everybody, better for the fish. Sometimes I do see lads with lighter rods. They spend too long playing the fish, and the fish is fairly flat out.
The fish then is very difficult. Like
So But that's it. And
go on ahead. No, go on ahead, Tom.
I actually, we never mentioned, but generally it's floating line 95% of the time.
Yeah, floating line. Yeah. Would you use a midge tip in a wind?
I have done.
Some guys like a midge tip because they think it helps to anchor that 3-foot midge tip.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It can be good, and that's that other 5%.
Right.
You know, that's that other 5%. It's no harm having it, and it does get it down.
Yeah.
But you know, if it starts sinking a bit too much and the whole line goes down, it'd be hard to keep in touch with your flies, and you generally end up pulling them too much. But most of the time, no, a midge tip will work.
Yeah. But no, would you treat that regularly during the day with mucilin and stuff, or?
Maybe. I generally find a good coating of mucilin and into the braided loop, and it stays up for most of the day. And that's another form of a bite indicator. Like I say, I don't use the bung, but quite often, and definitely, I'll quite often just watch. If I'm not watching the loop, I'll be watching the braided loop. And seriously, I've had a load of fish. The next thing you're looking at the loop and it's just gone.
Straight in.
Hit him. So so it's another way of.
And do you treat your fluorocarbon? Do you mud it up or degrease?
I don't generally. I don't if it's very calm, a lot of surface tension, I will. But you generally find if there's any bit of wave action at all or wave motion, you cast it out, give it one good pull though.
Straighten it, of course.
Do get into that habit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll find, it's happened to me a couple of times, I've forgotten to do it, I've retrieved all the way in, and I'm looking. And then I could see my leader is floating, right? So they've come in all the way and they haven't really sunk, right? Okay. So after you cast out, straighten it, just give it one sharp pull, and then it'll come down. Yeah.
Right, good, yeah. And when it comes to the flies, Tom, there's something I was told a long time ago that that using curved hooks on droppers. It's been around. Is that pure bull, or some people say you should only use a curved hook on a point, a curved buzzer on a point, and then straight shank buzzers on the droppers to stop them from spinning around your leader. Is that true? Yeah. No. Yes. No. Bull.
I prefer. Right. Here's the thing. I prefer curved hooks at the moment.
Right.
They're in vogue with me at the moment, so I use curved hooks everywhere. Do they spin around? Yeah. There's no doubt.
So too do the straight shank ones as well.
I think the straight shank ones do as well. Actually, a little tip to help, the way they swing around and you get, the way the dropper gets in and wrapped around. Little tip that, and I don't always do it, but what stops that, if you really have time setting up your cast, little drop of super glue on the knot.
Okay.
Little drop of super glue, and that will cover the whole knot, and it's less likely to catch on itself.
Right.
Now, by the end of the day, it will catch if it's the same cast.
Yeah.
It's never as bad as if you don't do it. And I used to be very meticulous about that. So when I was doing the cast, you can actually trim the opposite end of the knot quite close because you're going to glue on it.
Yeah.
I just put a little needle, a drop of glue in it, just hold it for a while. I used to let them hang. And that actually prevents a lot of that.
Tip. Yeah.
Yeah, so top tip for the day.
But you tie most of your buzzers then on curved hooks?
I prefer curved hooks.
Right.
I know what it is. And here's another thing. Breathers or no breathers. Breathers for duck flies, no breathers for Campto. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why. Yeah, breathers for duck fly. Duck fly size 12, but I'll often put a 10 on the point. And Campto size 10 and have a couple of 8s handy.
Right.
I would generally
are you really specific with your tying your buzzers to be as skinny as possible and really, or is that really?
No, I'm not. In fact, sometimes I don't like them too skinny. No, I don't like them bulky, but I like. I'll tell you what I do. Sometimes I'll build up. It's use uni thread, 6/0.
Yeah.
Right. Build it up with that. And I'm using what I got from you last year, which is fantastic. The Solarez.
Oh, the Solarez resins, they're good, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I got that from you last year, and the little zappity pen.
Yeah.
The torch, yeah. Is that what they call it? Not a zappity thing, no?
Oh, no, it's no.
All right, a torch. Oh, that's interesting.
A laser pen, the laser.
Yeah, the laser, yeah. So, no, fantastic. So, do that, and then coat, maybe 2 coats of hard as nails.
Yeah.
And that's but not too thick, but not too thin either. Not too thick.
Right.
And to be honest, patterns. Oh God, my best patterns are the simplest ones.
Oh, sure, bets, yeah.
Right? So you know the black, no rib, red holographic cheeks.
Yeah.
Black, no rib, silver holographic cheeks.
Yeah, they're often the best. It really is like there's only so much as a flight here. There's only so much you can do to a buzzer to feck it up or make it overcomplicate yourself, you know. And the simplicity of effective buzzers is, yeah. Like I get asked for some stupid stuff over the years. You know, people wanting to do this on their buzzer and that on the buzzer. I go, it's pointless. Like
it really is.
Of good.
The quills are great as well.
Yes.
And the quill bodies are fantastic. They really are. Yeah, I wouldn't discount them. I think I look at my box there. Most of my buzzers will either have a black thread body, some with the ribs, some with not, or a quill body. And some of the quill bodies I do touching turns, and others I do open turns on black thread. There's a couple of ones. There's one which is a quill open turn, and there's a back of red holographic on it. Right. And that's about the most. Red holographic does come into it, so you can use it incorporated at the back, or sometimes as a turn behind the thorax.
Okay.
A couple of turns of it. Red holographic, it's about the only flashy thing I'd say that goes in, or maybe a glow bright. A couple of glow bright tags will work on them, and that's a 4, which is the red, the 11 and the 12, which are the greens. Okay, so if we're looking for anything flashy in them, maybe the glow bright, the red holographic, and the silver holographic. The biots then, generally use biots as the cheeks.
Okay, I was going to ask that question. What's your go-to cheek material? Yeah, biots.
Sunburst orange or lime.
Yeah.
Funny, the lime comes out very well once it's covered. You'll put it in first and it looks a bit garish. But once you have it covered with the so that's it. UV or not?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I can't. You know, I've had some. Lately, I'm using a lot of UV, but I know one of my best quill buzzers, which was just basically undyed quill, and sunburst cheeks on a curve hook, funnily enough. And I only discovered, and I thought they were UV goose by sunburst. They weren't.
Right.
Of course, there is the thing that UV isn't seen when you go more than a couple of feet.
So they say, yeah.
So they say. So I don't know. Do I think that's crucial? No, I don't think so. Because as I said, I've had a lot of success on duck flies that have had non-UV biots. But biots are my favorite jigs. So basically, anything like that. Now, I've like what you said. I've tied them for lads, and I've tied them myself, and I've got mental with things, and there's bits coming out here and everything. And seriously,
yeah.
You know, it's like the old thing. Flies. Sometimes flies are for them, more for the angler, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but as I said, some of the best ones are just black thread, red holographic, silver holographic, cheeks, or there's another one with a pearl collar behind it.
Yes.
And you pearl. Don't forget pearl. So that's of all the flashy things now you're looking at, holographic, pearl, and glow brights.
Do you ever use any suspended buzzers or anything like that, Tom? Would you find
I do. Yeah, and I go along and I fish the washing line quite a bit as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely fish the washing line this time. And there is times, and it's if you want to try it, whether up high, where you wouldn't have to go for a fluorocarbon, where you could actually go for the old style copolymer, like copolymer is big nylon, just to keep them up high. But generally what I do then, rather than making a whole cast, I just switch to a little booby on the point and keep them up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to, and sometimes as well, if I used to use a little F-fly duck fly.
Right.
And that just keep them up as well quite a bit. And I used to catch on that.
You would catch on it, all right, yeah.
And I would use that rather than a booby. Now, I've caught a little olive booby using the washing line during olives, but I don't have a good booby pattern for the duck fly. So I've tended to use that F-fly more, which is basically flexifloss and 6 colour plumes, right?
Right.
The other thing is it doesn't stay up as long. Okay,
Right.
it sinks a lot quicker than a booby would. So basically, what you're doing is you're chucking it out. You might get 15 to 20 seconds, but you've got to
Right.
move. But then you got to think of it, even on even on let's say a booby, if the fish are high up, even on a booby, the other ones are sinking. They're going below the taking zone.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what
Of
I mean?
course. Yeah.
This is when you're seeing the fish moving, and you're seeing a lot of them moving up. You know, when
Right.
you're seeing them bulging, and you know they're not taken straight off the top. Basically, what you're seeing your bulges. Quite often, you're seeing a dorsal fin, but all you're seeing is a dorsal fin. You're not seeing the
Okay.
fish; they're just taken up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And you need
I'd
to keep
switch.
them up on that. Yeah.
Just keep them up. So I would you and then I use caught a good not this year was it last year caught a couple of lovely fish on the suspenders
Right.
buzzers, and that's basically just
Nice.
like the sugar cube, little
Yeah.
sugar
Yeah.
cube and a quill. Had some cracking fish. I had lovely fish on it one day actually. He was just short of 4 pounds. I was
Oh,
covering him and
lovely.
he was nipping. And
Right.
I tied up a couple of that pattern and I picked up fish in it. So
Sweet.
it does
Ah.
as well. Now, funnily enough, that's more duck fly. If I look at it, Campto, which is the daytime buzzer, then, and I will catch on the washing line with that
Right.
when they come up. But I've had a lot more fish on dry duck fly than I would have had on dry Campto.
Go away.
Yeah. Not to say I have a couple of patterns that do work with them on the dries, but generally, I'd say 90% of the what I'm getting is subsurface.
Wow.
Whereas with duck fly, it wouldn't be that high. Yeah, I have a lot more fish taken off the top. And actually, by the end of the duck fly, you have some smashing dry fly fishing.
I'd say, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the end of the duck fly, you have some cracking dry fly fishing.
I'd
And
say.
yeah, at that time I always have the dry fly rod ready in the boat then.
Right.
Generally tends to be more the evening time, not always the evening time, but they can really go on. The adults turn back en masse onto to lay, females go back to lay their eggs. So they're
Right.
cracking fishing on that. But
I'd say it's, yeah.
yeah, no, it's fab time of the year, but it's very much very weather dependent. That's the only thing.
Right.
Yeah, and then as I said, the Campto's been funny in the last couple of years. It's interesting to know.
And the Campto buzzer follows the duck fly, does it?
Yeah. So basically, you're looking Campto buzzer the last couple of years. You're looking the end of April,
Okay.
up to the middle of May.
Right.
Now, it used to be a bit longer, but the hatches have gone down the last couple of years. They wouldn't have been as big. I don't know whether that's as a consequence of the zebra mussel. Maybe a consequence of the introduction of the zebra mussel here.
Okay.
I don't know. As I said, once again, it's anecdotal. Anything that I'm brushing is a bit like what I said about the hoglouse. But I see it up here. We've a couple of good bays for the Campto up here. In the last couple of years, the hatches haven't been as big. They have come on. And I had some decent fishing on them. But yeah, so don't know if this is cyclical and whether they're going to come back or not. So you never know. I mean, you're dealing with a big body of water out there. But that's
in terms of say the duck fly buzzer, so the Campto buzzer, what's the visual differences between them, or what's the?
He's more grey.
Okay.
He's grey and he's bigger.
All right.
Yeah, he's grey and he's bigger. And it hatches in generally more up water. Hatches a lot of places where you'd have olives. Funny enough, you'd have olives and Campto hatching in the same area, and generally in water that's probably between 6 to 10 foot in depth.
Right. And fishing a very similar style to your duck fly buzzer.
Very similar, like exact same. Yeah, the exact same
possibly style. Going up in size, maybe.
Yeah, generally with the Campto, I'd be on 3 or 4 10s, maybe an 8 on the point.
Right.
Yeah. And generally, if then what I find is if you're in shallow water and you're on the 4 flies and you're on 10s and you're catching the bottom, but you're still catching fish, what I do then is tip is if you're in areas that bit shallow, rather than if you're very confident with the setup you have, then don't cast as far.
Right, okay.
Right, don't cast as far.
Yeah.
Because let's say if you're casting 20, 25 meters, you're giving more opportunity for your flies to sink and they're catching the bottom a lot more. So shorten your cast to 15 meters. Just chuck it out. And fish that, fish to to 10, 7 meters in front of you.
Right.
So that'll be it. Yeah. I found that out because there's a couple of places that I fish around here, yours that'd be that bit calmer, or not calmer, shallower. Sorry, that bit shallower. Yeah. And I found that rather if I'm on a method that's working, if the 4 flies are working. Now, quite often, a lot of these bays here, I will switch to 2.
Right.
Or actually, that's where I was catching on the suspended duck fly. But there are times when they're just off the bottom. They're just off the bottom in these shallower bays. And with the 4 flies, you can work quite well with them. So that's what I do there. But the Kamto generally, the Kamto is the one, been the big one for the last couple of years, and it's generally the one where you're getting the lumps of fish are coming off.
Is it right?
And it's probably better in that duck fly. There's a lot of, like what we say, a bit of local knowledge, known particular areas. Kamto is more open areas, like down, like when Mark was going out from Ballindiff there, over to Saddle, all that area there down towards. It's a well-known area of the lake now, and basically you don't really need to know particular points in it. Well, it helps.
Right.
But, you're not, should we say?
Yeah, because they just went out that day. They drove out the lake, not know where they were going. Pulled up somewhere, looked fishy, and next thing, all of a sudden, they hit. So more than likely, they came across Kamto buzzing, feeding fish.
Kamto buzz, or use the seagulls. If you see seagulls working, check what they're working on, and then just set it up. And that's Kamto is generally easier for buys like that. Do you know?
Right.
You don't need as much. Local knowledge. Duck fly can be a bit pernickety because you go to a hole and you can put the fish down. You can pick a fish up over the next thing, put all the other fish over. So what are you going to do? You're going to wait there and going to go. So if you know of another one, you can nip off.
Yeah,
I
know. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Yeah. Well, look, Sam, I'm not going to hold you up too much longer, but just before we go, we always, you've covered a lot of tips there. A lot of good tips there in the chat there, and it's fantastic. Fair play. But if anybody wants to get in touch with you to book your services for next season or the following season or whatever, you're building a new website now at the moment, is it? You're telling me, or you're working on a new website?
Yeah, hopefully I'll have it up now this month coming now. TomDoc.com. The old website's been there a while now, so I'm currently getting it done up, and so hopefully it should be ready now next month in January. And I've gone on to FishPal as well.
Fantastic, right?
The booking agency. So but hopefully that'll be ready next month. And anybody who's interested can just look up. It's TomDoc.com. The old one is still there at the moment.
Right. So, and how was the season looking for you coming up for 2023?
Yeah, it's good. Good. Yeah, I mean, I mean, like May is always gone from the previous May anyway. So yeah, it's looking kind of good. Duck flies picked up. Picking up a bit of April now and a few weeks gone in the summer already. So yeah, look, it's good. Fantastic. As I said, it's trying to fit everybody in to that window. So,
and of course, take all the weather things, all the weather crap is going to throw it our way into consideration too. We don't know what's ahead of us for the season. But look at Tom, I'm not going to keep you any longer. It is still Christmas time, and going to let you go. Super huge thanks for joining us again on the show tonight. Fantastic knowledge base on buzzer fishing, and a lot of food for thought there. I'm sure people will be going back over, and I'll have to sit down and watch this a few times to write all my notes. I've been writing notes here all the time through the out there, but I'll watch it back in my own time and press pause. I'll write that down and press pause. So but look at Tom, happy Christmas. I hope and wish you and all yours the best for 2023. I definitely will be over again, which I think myself and Declan are over.
We'll get that sorted.
Mayfly anyway, and we'll see how things go. We can get a day on the duck fly. But take care of yourself, and once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Great to be on, Peter. Thanks a million for having me on. And listen, Happy New Year to you, and tight lines for 2023.
Take care, Tom. And there we have it, folks. The great interview from Tom. Absolutely fantastic amount of information. That is definitely where we're going. You're going to have to go back and watch, and I will go back and watch time and time again. If you're going early fishing to the Corrib or any of the Western Lakes in Ireland or even anywhere in the world, I think, that's the kind of information you want to be honing in on and jotting down notes. Lots of hot tips there, lots of stuff there. Absolutely, fountain of knowledge is dead right, Eugene. Tom is an absolute gentleman of the sport, and we absolutely love having him here on with us from Scary Fly. Did a dry fly session last year. If you want to see a dry fly session last year, go back onto our YouTube channel. It's up there as well. Tom is a wealth of knowledge and always has a passion for sharing. Same as ourselves here from Scary Fly. So huge thanks to Tom Doc for coming on with us there. And don't forget, if you want to check out Tom Doc or you want to book a day with Tom Doc, which you can, go to www.tomdoc.com and you can have a look there and try and get Tom on it. Absolutely, Andrew. Notebook. Yeah, I said it to Tom when we were finishing up our interview yesterday that I'm going to have to get a notebook out and take down notes. Yeah, absolutely. Tom Ankertel, Kings of the West. Wealth of information, but most importantly, a nice guy, straight up guy, no bull, and gives you the information you want to hear and gives you confidence in your fishing. So thanks a million again to Tom. So we have a winner, folks. Before I go any further, we got two great buzzer patterns coming up now. So we got the buzzer pattern, a nice simple standard buzzer pattern to always be fishing. We got a Campto buzzer pattern. I had to make 2 phone calls yesterday about these 2 buzzer patterns and asked the 2 guys I try these normally for, is it okay if I put them on the show? Because there's 2 different ingredients in each fly that you don't want to miss. So they're coming along. We also have Mark coming along. He's going to tie the buzzer that they caught all the fish on that day in the scene in the previous clip. And by the way, hi to all our YouTubers who are going to be watching this tomorrow. We didn't forget about just but this video will be up on YouTube tomorrow at some stage. Deirdre sent me a message there at around about 6 minutes past 9 with the winner of the Mount Juliet voucher. So the winner who's going to win a full year's free fishing Mount Juliet voucher. It's on my phone here. I'm going to try and hold up the camera and see if you can get it. Dave Donovan is also coming up there very soon, folks, with the question. So keep an eye out for that one. We got lots more tonight to come. We're going to be going a little bit later than normal. We started a bit earlier, but it is Christmas special. What else have we got to be doing? So the winner of the Mount Juliet voucher worth over €350 is Ken Tubby Dunn. Ken Tubby Dunn wins the Mount Juliet voucher. Ken, I know you're on with us there earlier on. If you're still on there, thanks, Gary. Gary McKiernan's on there from Knocksheelan. But Ken Tubby Dunn, Ken, if you're on, congratulations, you've just won yourselves a full 3 years fishing membership to Mount Juliet Estate here in Thomastown, County Kilkenny. Congratulations, great prize. Thanks, huge thanks Dan O'Neill and Mount Juliet for always supporting the show and supporting the business here. We'll be in touch with you later on or first thing in the morning, Ken, and get your voucher off to you. So we're going to rock on here with some buzzer patterns. Keep an eye out, folks, on the comment stream. Dave is coming up with his question. We got more great prizes to give out and a few more spot prizes. So we'll keep rocking on. So Tom talked about curved buzzers and stuff like that, and we're going to do one of the very basic curved buzzers that we know have been very successful. But in this one, the cheek material is something you want to be watching out for. I've got a B175. Now, B175 can be a bit light for buzzers sometimes. Okay, a lot of buzzer guys tend to like the B. So Dave is on there. I see a lot of stuff coming in on the Oaks. If I can read out the question, David Dunham's on there. What is the collective noun for salmon? Great question. Dave asked a while ago, what is the collective noun for brown trout, and it was quite a competition to guess that one. But Dave will let me know as soon as the winner is announced. The first person on Dave's stream wins that prize. So I got a B100 here in the Vice, a size 12. Now, a lot of the buzzer guys want the B110, because they find the B100 a bit slim. I just hadn't got a B110 at my hand, at my disposal when I was getting ready for the show. So I'm using a B100. And I've just tied in a bit of really fine silver wire by Sabaya in there. And I'm just going back up with my black thread. And I'm going back down. A good day's fishing, Jim. Absolutely, Jim Myler, a good day's fishing. And I'm going back down again, just to give my body a bit of depth to it. And then on the third time back, on the third run, I'll take my time and I'll try to get that body as even as possible. So the light conditions here are never easy for tying, but that's not too bad. That's not too bad for a body. So now I'll take my silver wire and I'll make my rib up along. Now, as Tom mentioned, oh, sorry folks, I just hit the camera. As Tom mentioned, rib or no rib, he has his preferences on different days. But for this particular one, I'm going to put a rib on. It's nice even ribbing up the body. Quite a simple buzzer. So Dave is on there. Stephen O'Reilly is the winner. A run of salmon. A run of salmon is the winner. Congratulations, Stephen. You have won yourself a selection of fly boxes. Right? A nice selection of fly box there. But you've also won yourself a casting clinic in Mount Juliet Estate. Okay, so you've won a voucher for a casting clinic in Mount Juliet Estate, where you can come to Mount Juliet, meet with the fishery manager, Dan O'Neill, and you're going to get a 1-hour casting clinic in Mount Juliet Estate. Okay, so you've got the fly boxes and a casting clinic. I will be in touch with you, Stephen, after the show, or it'll be tomorrow probably, by the time we get finished up the show, and we will get that prize off you. Thanks very much. Thanks a million to Dave Donovan for always coming on and doing the old quizzes and stuff like that. He's fantastic. Okay, back to this fly, folks. This is the real, this is the humdinger of this fly. Okay, so oh God, I know 3-4 years ago, I was asked for a buzzer, and I tied it exactly what I'm tying now, and we came up with a cheek material. Now, I use cheek material for buzzers. Tom was talking about using biots, and we do use biots an awful lot, but there, there's lots of other options for cheek materials. I remember getting Tato's salt and vinegar crisp bags for cheek materials, and getting that blue, because there's no other way you can buy the material, and cutting the tin strips off the salt and vinegar crisp bags to get that particular material. For this particular buzzer, what we're using is Felly eyes from Funky Fly Tying. Okay, so these are eyes that are used for gummy worms, gummy baits, gummy fry patterns. A lot of them used for saltwater fly fishing and stuff like that. And I'm going to pull out a full one here before I show you what I'm going to do with it. But you can see the rainbow colour. It's not holographic, all right? It's very flat, silver. But you can see that rainbow colour that's on it, okay? Now, I'll tell you, when you put this in and you resin over it and you look at it, and any little bit of a flicker, as you can see what I'm flickering that, any little bit of flicker, if there's a UV ray coming down hitting that buzzer, you're going to see that flicker. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take our scissors and we'll cut a very fine, never mind, so here I'm going to take off one of the gummy patches just to show you, as I call them, gummy heads. If I was tying a gummy lure, okay, we remove that piece there, and that becomes the piece that's in my hand here is what I'm going to stick on my gummy. But we've all this excess material around either side. Jerry Carby, you're absolutely right. Smoky bacon bags for cheeks, absolutely, I'll use that. It doesn't break down in water, but this stuff is unbelievable, and you can't buy it anywhere else. It just doesn't exist in a spool or a sheet of material. So once we cut a very fine strip off our waste material, this is what we're left with. Okay, now it's really, really strong, but to really intense that rainbow flick, okay, I recommend you catch it between your finger thumb and really give it a pull. Okay, once you cut it as fine as you need for your buzzer, give it a pull, and it really intensifies that rainbow kind of colouring effect of the material. So I'll take it in. Now it is sticky on one side, so a little bit of working with it, and I'll put a cheek in. I'm just going to actually just trim off the piece I was pinching before I pulled it. The pulling just helps it get a bit thinner. And I'll just, because it's stuck to my finger, it makes it quite awkward to get it in exactly in the right position. There we go. That'll do fine. To be on either side. Okay, so piece in that side. Cut it down the middle. Flip over your vise. And the same on that side. So I tied this buzzer for a guy a number of years ago. Maybe, gosh, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. Now no buzzer fishing, not on the Corrib, but geez, he had some success in it. And he reckoned it was that. And Bo had never seen the buzzer, the cheek material. You know, I use holographic, I use pearl or silver mylar, all sorts of stuff, and they look fantastic. But we both reckoned that his success was because of the rainbow kind of flash off this buzzer material, and there is no substitute for it that I know of. I haven't been able to find it. So I'm just building up a little bit of the thorax head there, kind of coming back down a little bit to the body that we previously managed. And I'm going to take that cheek material and pull it up either side. And like even as I'm tying that now, I can see yellows, greens, reds, everything coming through that cheek material. Any little bit of a movement in my hand, or as I'm tying my thread in to secure it in. I'm not sure if the camera's picking fully up on it, but I can see a multitude of colours. There. But anyway, we came up with the cheek, and we both realised that it might have been the cheek material that he got so many fish on. And ever since then, I've been tying for him. And when I was doing the show, give him a buzz. And I said, any chance I could show off that cheek material? And I said, well, look, would you tie the fly initially? So by all means do. He wanted to remain anonymous, but you know who you are. So thanks a million for can I make it with Peter Box? Dorito package for orange. Absolute Chris. Yeah, snacks, takeout time from yeah, brilliant. Yeah, you know, lots of options there for cheek material to get that perfect colour. Basically, once it doesn't break down in water, it can be used. You know, but this stuff that I've you know, after tying this particular buzzer, I searched for other stuff. Really, the camera's not really picking up. We'll see when we resin it if it helps a little bit. So when I'm resin, as Tom mentioned, well, we're using the Solres Thin Hard is what I always use for my initial coating. Okay, I got a small artist brush here, and I use a little tub, a little hook tub, and all I do is just put my resin into that. I have it there just at the bottom of my vise, always ready to go, and we start and we mount a little bit of resin on the head. Start slow. There's no rush when you're doing your resin work. There's just a little fibre or something. There you go. Get the head well covered. And once I'm happy that's covered, I'll then just take and work from the head down. I don't want to over bulk it up with resin. It secures everything in place, makes it nice and glassy. We want a nice even layer across the buzzer. See some sticking out there. But such a simple buzzer as well, as Tom was saying, you know, simplicity different. Now, sometimes you can put a little bit of a holographic kind of spot in behind the cheeks there. Sometimes. But for this particular buzzer that works so well for that angler, we didn't. Some little things we didn't use that. That thread there, Seamus, is Simpler Fly Classic Wax Thread 8.0. I'm using on that. Okay. Give it a zap of the pen, the laser, or as Tom called it, the zappity dappity oo. Something like that he called it. Give it a quick zap of that one. Sets it resin so quick. By the way, we've all the resin and all the threads and stuff like that we're using in the shop. I don't have any of that material, but if someone's really stuck, as always, I'd never see anyone stuck. If someone wants a little bit of that, I have no problem sending them a little bit of that. So basically, once you're finished the resin work, you can then give it a couple of coats of the Sally Hansen. Maybe 1-2 coats is enough, just to protect the body and build it up a bit. But that's it. Such a simple buzzer, but you really can't know. Unfortunately, the camera's really not. Thanks, Harold. They're really not picking up on that rainbow. It's not holographic. It's so hard to explain. You'd have to see it in person to really understand the colours that come off of that cheek. But fantastic cheek material and a really nice buzzer. That's going into the pot. That's going into the pot, folks, for the winners of anyone to share the stream or comment on stream. We got a whole bucket of flies there to give away tomorrow. I'll do a draw on that one tomorrow. Now, before we go on to the next fly, I got one more, and I got a Campto buzzer to tie for you next. Okay, now, and again, I had to ring a person that I tied 2 to 3 years ago. I tied a Campto buzzer for. They got massive success on it. Competition angler here in Ireland. Again, he wants to remain anonymous, which is fine, but he agreed to let me tie his Campto buzzer that I tied for him initially on the show. So that's coming up after you get to see Mark Driver's buzzer. So you all saw the little video earlier on of Mark, and you heard Tom talk about it. A video of Mark, Roger, and Josh that got a whole load of fish out fishing the Corrib there last April. Well, more than likely they hit a Campto buzzer pod of feeding fish, and this was the buzzer that this kind of in a way, Peter, kind of in a way, yeah, mother of pearl effect has. It's amazing to see. But anyway, this is Mark Driver here tying his buzzard that caught all the fish for them that day. I asked him there during the week to tie it for me, and hope you enjoy this one. When we come back, we're going to be tying our last flight tonight to Campto buzzer, and don't miss it. It's going to be a cracker. It is an absolute belter of fly. So enjoy Mark here tying the fly that caught all the fish for them on the buzzer session last April.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here tonight to do a buzzer for you. I hope you're enjoying the live Christmas show so far. I know Peter just had the video on there of myself and Josh Walker and Roger Fowler over on the Great Loch Corrib in County Galway. So Peter asked me to come on and do one of our buzzers we were over there for a 2-day trip, and we had some good fishing on the first day, but the second day really took off for us. So I'm just going to tie one of the main buzzers that kind of worked for us. We had 2 very simple buzzers kind of working, and we just were chopping the changes on the third buzzer. But mainly this buzzer worked on the top dropper and the point fly first, and the middle dropper then we had it was a strip quill buzzer on a straight shank with kind of a hot orange kind of sunburst cheeks, and it worked very well as well. That time of the year in May, we would have a lot of fish going around just with their mouths open. So, you know, once you're in the right spot and you have the right depths, flies don't seem to matter too much. But saying that all the same, it's good to have partners that are working. So in the vise, I have a Camazin B100 size 10 curved hook. It's a barbed hook, but you can debarb it. I just like the strength of the Camazins. So we're just going to start off with some wax thread from Semperfli, or if you have a strong black thread, I'm going to use it for the majority of the flies. So what I have here then is some Wapsi power post wings in white. And the reason I like to use the Wapsi stuff is just it has a nice, you'll see here, kind of puffy texture to it, and some Antrons are very straight. So I just find for buzzers, for the few that I do tie, I like to kind of have puffy Antron to use for my breeders on the front of the fly. So just tie that in there, and we cut it back at an angle just to taper it down, not to overbulk the fly too much at the same time. And we just slowly work our way back up. Now there is a lot of we did query a lot of Antrons kind of around with UV reflective. This one now would be UV reflective also. We were trying to get Antrons that maybe aren't UV reflective. Sometimes it can act as a trigger point for fish, and sometimes we were thinking maybe it might turn the fish off, but didn't seem to. For some of the ones we tried, this Wapsi power post turned out to be sufficient for what we wanted anyway. So we just work our way down below the bend of the hook, and we're going to use some Unimiler Pearl number 14. So we just strip it off. Just mind a few turns there, just not to have the base of the hook too built up. And then work our way up and down the body a little bit just to make that put 3/4 way back up. Make a nice tapered body. Some buzzers are more slimmer than others. Sorry now, just the way the light is. You can see the fly much better than I can. But yeah, we fished this on, I got a bit of knowledge going over from a few locals that had been fishing it recently and stuff on Loch Corb, and from my own experience of buzzer fishing as well. So we were kind of told 3 flies, pint fly, maybe a size 8 if you wanted that extra weight for getting down, and on a curved hook. And so that's what we done. We used something like this here on a curved hook, and other stuff kind of slightly similar. And we fished. I was set up with a Syndicate Aquas 10-foot 5-weight, and with just a 5-weight line, floating line, one of our own from the shop, and just set it up with, I forget the tip that I was using at the time. It could have been 0.16, maybe 0.18, or it was Frog's Hair, which is a very good choice for a lot of anglers over there in the west. Frog Hair fluorocarbon, 8.8 pound, and used that and set up 3 flies. So we were fishing kind of a 7 foot from the floating line down to 4 foot and 4 foot. So we had a 15-foot leader set up to our 3 buzzers. We had decent sized droppers on, maybe 6-7 inches, not to have them too short, and just keeping in touch. That was all. Just cast them out. You don't have to empty the fly line. You don't want too much slack when those fish are going to take, and they're going to take hard, because as I said, they're going around with their mouths open. So you want to be able to give them a little bit of line at the very start when they're taken, and lock up into them. So you do. So we found just keeping in touch, real very slow figure of 8, the odd little jolt now and again, and that was really it. Just, and keep in touch and just be patient, wait, try find those bays or those shelves off the back of islands and stuff like that. We were fishing out of Anna Down on the first day, and straight away Josh Walker, that was with us from Tasmania, he had a nice sea trout around pound and a half. We drifted down into Jurassic Bay then, which is left going out of Anna Down, and Roger Fowler was with us. He had a lovely fish, about 5.5, 6 pound I think. We met a couple others there, and we finished up the day early and went back to the hotel. I think Roger might have had 2 or 3 more, and the next day we got up. We went right out of Anna Down and worked our way up towards Mark 50 and around the back of some of the islands up there. And I think we had 14 to the boat, with maybe 3 or 4 dropped. Josh had a lovely fish for about maybe 7.5 pound or so. Cracking fish. He really thoroughly enjoyed it, because he was finding it hard throughout the day to get fish when myself and Roger were meeting fish, but patience and perseverance paid off, and he locked up into one near the end of the day, and it made the whole trip for him. So just for the cheeks now, we're going to use some Uni-Mylar holographic red in size 12. You get away with size 14 is here as well. I just wouldn't go down to 16, so we're just going to tie in one side. So what we'll try to do is tie it at an angle, because we want to kind of pull those cheeks up and over when after we've made the head. So you can tie in one piece and leave enough length to work with, and then cut it off and work from the other side again, up at an angle. Just get it locked in first, and then just double check it that you're happy with the angle. If you are, you can always just pull it down while you're doing your locking in turns. And then next part then really is just making your head. So you try to make a nice kind of how would you say, an oval shape, like an American football type shape, so without going too bulky at the same time. But this will help add that little bit of weight as well to the buzzer, and also give off the definition of it compared to the emerging duck fly and buzzers coming up on the water. And we were over there, geez, we seen the whole place, especially in the afternoon. Like we'd start fishing at 8:30 in the morning. We wouldn't really, there'd be a lot of fish on dries, so we kind of had a dry rod set up, and then we moved on to the buzzers then. Tried to pick up a few fish early, but it was just go in, pick our place, and go in and just wait for the water temperature to heat up, and when you'd see more shuttles and shuttlecocks and stuff like that coming up on the water, where the buzzers are emerging and stuff, you knew then the fish were going to be coming active very soon. Like so that head seems big enough now for what I want it to be. Main thing is just kind of work from the middle of the head down and then back up into the middle and then back right. So it's all practice of buzzers. It's just more so having your profile right, and just taking time, and then as you build up your confidence that you're doing them correctly, you won't be long knocking up a box of them. So just pull them back there, and we'll just tie in front of that breeder there as well. It's a great thing with that wax thread is it's very strong. So just put that back there for a minute. So we're just going to cut one cheek off at a time. So what I normally do instead of cutting straight is I just kind of nick it on the one edge and then just kind of pull it across. And it just kind of tears itself off then, just like that. But yeah, we had a great 2 days. It's well worth it. Was something we hadn't done ourselves in a few years, and we're just lucky that Josh was over with us and he got to come over and film some of the footage that you've seen in the video. So we're just going to whip finish there in front of the breeder. And there's so many different, you'll probably see there tonight with Peter and some others there just tying different types. There's any endless amount of variants of buzzers that you can tie. Just be careful then as well with your rib there. It's a little bit loose on me there, but we're going to lock that in place now with some Solvarez UV tin resin. Some people use varnish and polish and maybe 2 or 3 layers of varnish, and but I just find once you have a good UV lamp, UV resin, you can but my buzzers don't fail me for the ones I do tie up and use. So just get a real fine brush, just apply it all around, make sure all the little gaps are covered, because one thing with resin is you leave any little gaps, the air might get in underneath the resin and cause a white faded patch on your fly. You just get your UV lamp or pen. Just give it a couple of seconds all around the fly, make sure everything's fully cured. I said that was a great fly for us when we were over there them 2 days. I only had 2 or 3 even tied. Roger had a good few, and we had to tussle into Roger's box a little bit to nick a few out when we broke off in a few fish and a few different angles and catching the boat and a few different things. But it was a great 2 days over there on Loch Carbon. We thoroughly enjoyed it. It was somewhere we'll be hitting now again come April and mid-May when the duck fly starts taking off. So that's it there. Very simple buzzer, not a whole lot to it. You've just 3 or 4 materials. Make sure to knock them up in size 10s and 12s for yourselves. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. I hope you had a great Christmas, and very best wishes for 2023. So enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for watching.
So yeah, folks, that was the buzzer that Mark and Roger and Josh did so well on. We're going to finish up here now with our last fly. We got the Campto buzzer coming here. This is an absolute belter of a fly. Thanks Stuart, thanks Craig, Dave Donovan, Mark. Thanks Mark for tying the fly for us. And but Craig Oliver is looking for a link to the one. Craig, if you go onto our YouTube channel, you'll see the video there of that day out the boys had on the Corrib. It was an exceptional day. But it's also I played the short clip there earlier on this show, and this show will be up on YouTube tomorrow. You can watch back this whole show, the interview with Tom Dock, the Mark and Roger and all the lads out on the lake, and all these fly patterns later on in the show. Do watch it back because there's a lot in this show tonight, folks. And congrats again to Ken Tubby Dunn for winning the Mount Juliet voucher. So what we're going to do here is we're going to finish up with our last buzzer pattern. Okay, so we're heading into the Campto buzzer. Thanks, guys. On behalf of Mark, thanks. I'm not sure if Mark is watching or not, but thanks, Mark, for sharing. So what I'm going to start off here, I'm just making sure I'm actually going to pull the fly out. So I got a whole tub of flies here. I got the emergers, got all the buzzers, dabblers. There's a bundle of flies there, folks. Don't forget, anyone that shared the stream is in for that draw tomorrow. I'm going to pull out this Campto buzzer because I had to actually tie it again today just to remind myself of the tying of it. The way I normally work here in Biscari, everything we send out here in Biscari, thanks John Higgins, great to have you on with us as well. Yeah, and Andrew, I will, the Peppa Pig bung, we'll have to tie it at some stage. But any fly, any kind of original pattern that we tie here, if you come on to Biscari Flying and you give us a ring or give us a email or a shout or a text and ask us for a specific pattern, we tie it for you with our own hands. We don't import any flies at all. Everyone's tied with our own hands. And if there's something original that I tie for you, I normally photograph it and I put it into a file with your name on my computer. And from there then, if you ring me back a year later or 2 years later and say, oh, do you remember that buzzer you tied for me there a year ago? Can you get another 2 dozen of them? And if I don't remember it, which I more than likely won't, because I normally don't retain any information that's about 2 days old. So after 2 or 3 days, I don't retain the information. Good stuff, Jonathan. Absolutely, Mark Rogan, you're dead right. It is fantastic to see people sharing their information, and we love doing that here. I will, Chris Oliver. I still have to invent that propeller fly. That's the thing. I still have to invent it. Well, someday I'll think of some fly pattern that's absolutely unique in itself, and we'll call it the propeller fly, and we'll tie it here on one of the shows. But back anyway to what happens when you order flies off us. So we normally photograph them, put them in a folder with your name on them, and then when you ring me back a year later, you know, I've got that particular pattern in a folder, and I can go back and remind myself quite quickly of what it is. And when Tom was talking about the Campto buzzer, there was a person that 2 years ago or more, maybe 3 seasons ago, I'd have to go back and check the file, but he asked me to tie a particular pattern with a particular style, look and body, and when I tied it, he had great success on it, and I had to make the phone call again yesterday. I think it was yesterday after Tom's interview. I made a phone call last night and I said, look, any chance I can tie that Campto buzzer on the show for followers? And he said, absolutely no problem, work away. So thank you, you know who you are, and I really appreciate you letting us tie it, because you're a pattern, because it belongs to you. If you ring and order a particular fly, we won't give it away unless we have your permission. So anyway, we got a B175 size 10. Thanks, John Coughlin. We got a B15. Mark is on there with us. Good man, Mark. Secret stuff. Mark is on there. But we got a B175 size 10 in this in device. So as Tom was saying earlier on, 10s and even sometimes 8s for the Campto buzzer. Okay. First thing I'm going to tie in here is a piece of natural stripped peacock quill. Actually, I'm going to move my thread down a little bit further. This is an absolute beautiful buzzer, and I hope the camera picks up its finisher. I actually tried earlier on, and I tried in the camera to make sure it would pick up its features. So once I've tied in that quill buzzer, I'm then going to tie in Hen's BQ69 buzzer body. Okay, as you can see, it's a grey buzzer body. It's translucent, but it has dark and light kind of texture to it. Okay, we have it in the shop, of course. A lot of the materials we tie with, folks, are in our shop, www.piscarifly.com, so make sure to check it out. And I'm going to tie that in there as well at the butt. And bring my thread down just at the bend, which is just where the bar is. I'm going to set that thread bobbin with the body quill to one side. And I'm going to take my black thread. Try not. Okay, enough I didn't snap my black thread there off the point of the hook. I'm going to take my black thread up. Three-quarters up, right? And I'm going to bring it back down just to add a bit of meat to that fly and to level out. Make sure I can level out the body there. This buzzer. Actually, next step is I'm going to whip finish off the black thread and remove it. Whip finish off your black thread, just a quick turn. And remove that out of the way. I noticed on Mark's video, no one really commented on it, but you're very welcome, Stuart McMicken. An awful lot of high-fiving on that video, Mark Drivers. Roger and Mark and Josh were doing an awful lot of high-fiving. But I noticed he didn't high-five that one fish that he dropped. There was a fish there that he locked into and he just didn't make that connection. And he dropped it. There was no high-fives at that stage, Mark, was there? But anyway, I'm starting to wind up my buzzer body, my nice grey coloured buzzer body. Wind it up the full length of the hook over the black thread. Wind it back down again. And then wind it back up again. Now remember, this stuff is translucent, folks. Now, it doesn't only come in the grey, it comes in a whole multitude of colours. And it is fantastic stuff. And you can get that, it's a really unusual look to that body. So once I've got that wind up, I'll then take my quill. And hopefully not breaking it. Wind it up the body with gaps, of course. Not touching turns. Allowing that grey buzzer body to penetrate through. Get it up there. I knew that was going to happen, but that's good. It's a live show, folks. These things happen. Slipped down my fingers, so don't try and continue. Wind it back and start again. Again, not putting too much pressure on that quill. They are fragile enough. But I want to get as even turns as possible up the body of that fly. If you ever get short, coming near the end, bring it over the top of the hook, put your finger on top, you can remove the right hand, catch underneath, bring it up around and do the same thing again. For any body material, makes life just a little bit easy. And get it turned in over the top, putting the pressure onto that body quill. Couple of turns. Now the body quill itself is not that strong, but it's strong enough to hold that quill in place for a moment. Absolutely, Martin. Yeah, and Seamus, yeah, sometimes they are short. That's why that finger on top can be quite handy, especially when you're tying on a size 10 Kamazan B175. You know, the quills can be a bit short, so a finger on top and free up one hand can help. That buzzer quill, it depends on the underbody. Really, Martin, as regards, do you want a full grey body or do you want something that's kind of a bit more translucently blacky grey? It's a really hard thing to explain until you see it. But once I've got the body finished, I now introduce my black thread again. And I bring my black thread down over where I would have whip finished the grey buzzer body. And now everything is pretty secure. I'm quite happy to continue on with the rest of the fly. Here I got Uni Mylar Pearl size 14. Okay. Mark, oh man. Uni Mylar Pearl size 14. And this is going to be a thorax cover. As Tom mentioned as well, he wouldn't put too much flash into a buzzer, but a little bit of pearl can be nice. just make sure that is directly on top of the fly. Okay, when you're tying in things like this and at this stage of the fly of a buzzer, just stay away from the eye of the hook as best as you can. Now here I got a bit of sunburst. This is a real dark kind of, it's nearly borderline orange. Cheek material. This is a goose bite. Okay, I take one side off. So you always have a concave and a convex, and you make sure that the concave is facing towards you. Tying in the tips. Screw them in. Again, staying away from the eye of the hook. Take off another one. Turn your vise to the side. And make sure they're tied in roughly around the same length. So both cheeks will be fairly similar. You don't have to fully cut away your waist there because your head is going to cover most of it. But just if you think it's going to come past the eye, give it a trim. And now I'll just make sure with my left hand that everything is in position. And bring it down onto the body exactly where I want it to be. Bring up your thread to the eye of the hook. And this is why we try to stay away from the eye of the hook as much as possible. So I'll catch my nearest side cheek material, and then I'll put one turn on. I'll catch my top, put one turn on, and I'll move to the other side, still keeping the pressure, never taking the pressure off the thread. Everything is trapped in 3 turns. Okay, I'm not trapping in one cheek material with 2 turns, the head with 2 turns, or the thorax cover with 2 turns, and then the following cheek material with 2 turns. Everything's trapped in 3 turns, so I'm not adding a massive bulk of thread up there to the head of that fly. Keeping it nice and easy. When I'm cutting away, I'm just basically holding up with a bit of pressure, sliding the hook in along, and just using the blade of the hook, or the blade of the scissors, sorry, to trim away my waist. Keeping it nice and tight to the thread, one at a time, working backwards exactly the way I worked forwards with the cheek, the thorax cover, and into the cheek. And that one didn't cut quite as neatly as possible. I felt a bit of resistance there anyway. And it leaves me with a nice neat head on that fly. Okay, so I'm not building up any kind of massive big thread, mounted thread up there at the head of that buzzer. And just nice little whip finish. And there we go. An absolute beautiful looking Camto buzzer. Okay, very simple, but that grey, again, the camera is picking up fairly, it's not bad, but you can see that bit of pearl on top. Now before we finish, we're going to put a little bit of resin on that. So we're heading back to our Solarize, tin and hard, the blue colour Solarize. We start our coat up there on the head. As always, make sure it's well covered. Always coat that first. Same for doing a Perdigon right at all. Always coat the head first, and then take a coating and stroke it down the hook or the body of the fly. Helps keep the taper and shape of the fly just nice. I like using the artist brush with a bit of resin in me little tub here. It allows me to have a lot of control over what I'm doing. A little bit below the hook. If that happens, that's okay. That's no problem. A little bit of tissue paper here. I just went down the hook a small bit. A little bit of tissue paper, fold in a corner. And I can just go in there and remove that just like so. And go back to my brush. Best thing about resin is you don't have to be in a panic. Sometimes I see people tying resin and they're in a massive panic. It doesn't set until I put the pen on it. And I always like to have it as best as I can get it before I'm going to put another little bit in the thorax. As best as I can get it before I finish up and hit a shot of the pin. So once I'm happy with the shape of that, So Adrian Codd thinks the show should be this long every night. Well, Adrian, yeah, you can ring my wife tomorrow, Adrian, and you can tell her that we're going to do this length of a show every Saturday night. But no, it's been a great show, and I've really enjoyed it and look forward. And I hope everybody has got something out of it, which is very important for us here. Like, when we do these shows, it's not going to change our entire world, but I hope everybody takes some little thing out of each part of the show that will improve their fishing. Now, something that will make them look forward to the season to come. Little things to work on your flight line. There's that buzzer now, and a Campto buzzer, cracking little Campto buzzer. You can see that head, the pearl head, their Torx cover, our sunburst cheeks, our natural quill body. The grey is not as quite as prevalent as I like on the camera, but if you see it, say in comparison to a black threaded body, it's like night and day. Lovely buzzer to tie for the Campto. Thanks John Johnson, thanks Gene, thanks Peter. I really hope everyone's enjoyed the show. So we're at the end of it anyway, folks. That's it. 2022 is about to roll out, and we're about to head into 2023 season. I wish everybody a super season coming. I wish everyone a safe season and tight lines. And don't forget, folks, if you ever need anything at all, do give us a shout here in pescarifly.com. We will try our best to look after you with any products, fly fishing or flight time you need, and any information. The shows go on. We're not finished yet. We go run until the middle of March. Probably it'll definitely be the first the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day, before the river season opens up here. We'll be doing live shows. So stick with us. We're back not next Saturday night because it's New Year's Eve. We will be back on the 9th. I think it's the 9th. It was the 8th or 9th of January. I'll put up a post on Facebook of when our next live show is, and we'll be back on Saturday nights as normal at 8:30 p.m. for another great show with lots of special guests and good bit of crack. Thanks Mark Joyce, thanks Dominic, thanks Eugene, Liam Long, everybody for watching in and tuning in tonight. Don't forget, the show will be up on YouTube tomorrow at some stage when Deirdre gets home to put it up. I don't do that techie stuff, but Deirdre will be home, put it up on YouTube later on, so you can go back on and watch the show back, watch those interview backs. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope everyone has a safe and happy New Year. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas, folks, and God bless you all. Talk soon. Good night, everybody.